All right, we get it rolling on the Krug Show. Game 2 goes to the Warriors in grand fashion. Hope everybody had a great day, a great Thursday. May the 4th. Warriors get even with the Lakers, beating them by 27. Interesting ball game. Welcome to the Krug Show, the post game afterwards. I'm Larry Krueger, and of course, we've got a full panel. Let me first tell you that we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out, the best barbecue in Northern California. Pig and a Pickle, open every day in Marin County and Corte Madera from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville, inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. And, of course, we're also brought to you by Telmetrics.co, as well as the New York Style Sausage Company. And thanks to them as well for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, tonight on the panel, we have Bottom Corner with the baby grand in the background. The great Carl Foster is back in the house. Carl, good to see you. People are fired up that Carl is here with us. The audience, when they found out that Carl was here, I mean, they just went crazy. There you go. Thank you to Carl for joining us. The audience did not have such a fond response when I told them that Dan Cochimilio was in the house tonight.
How did I know that was going to be me?
There you go. I'm not sure what they're laughing about, but they seem to be laughing. And back with us, the man, the myth, the legend. He's got his own YouTube channel, but he parked himself tonight on ours. Bay Area Baller 18. And, wow, come on. We need something better than that. How about this? He's money. There you go. Bay Area Baller in the house. So Bay Area Baller, what's going on? Danny's crowd. But Carl's crowd. Woo! Hey, everybody. Good to see y'all. All right, and then joining us later on tonight will be Frank Red, who will be joining us when he gets back from Marin. We'll be talking probably at some point with Cyrus Satsis, who was bound to mix it up with somebody. We're not sure who. Baller is the only person that he hasn't mixed it up with yet, but Cy shall be here.
I don't know. It was a close encounter the day of the GP2 Wiseman trade. Me and Cy had a bit of a disagreement there, but other than that, yeah, me and Cy, we're on good terms.
There you go. And but Cy will be here, and who knows what he'll be doing on his patio. There you go. All right, and then maybe JD will be in the house as well. JD's got the 95.7 The Game post-game show going on, but JD could be in here as well, and maybe we'll give him a little something. There you go, JD, joining us a little bit later on. And wait a second, I should say Ryan will also be here, from what I've been told. Here we go, a little sounder for Ryan. Ryan will be joining us a little bit later on.
Kick his ass, Seabass! Kick his ass, Seabass!
What's that from?
Kick his ass, Seabass!
All right. It's kind of repetitive. Let's get rid of that one. All right, guys. What do you guys think? To me, the biggest turnaround from Game 1 to Game 2 was Game 2 was nothing like Game 1. I mean, Anthony Davis dominated Game 1. He did not dominate Game 2. The Lakers dominated in the paint in Game 1. They did not dominate in the paint in Game 2. Steve Kerr basically said, "Hey, GP2. You're going to be my sacrificial lamb as far as minutes." GP2 did not get a lot of run, but the Warriors get a 127-100 win. Anthony Davis held to 11, 7 and 4 for Anthony Davis. LeBron had 21 at the half, but finished with 23. D'Lo with 10. Rui Hachimura had 21. Nice night for Rui, but it was Klay Thompson night. And Klay Thompson had 30, 11 of 18 on the field goals, 8 of 11 on threes. Sixth time in his career, guys, that Klay has parked 8 threes. That's the most of all time. in a playoff game. 8 threes for the 6th time for Klay Thompson, 20 for Steph, 11 for Wiggins, who had the best plus minus at plus 35. The big wrinkle was Jermichael Green started. Kevon Looney was sick. Do we believe that? No, I'm not. I'm not saying conspiracy, but it is interesting that Kevon Looney was out, and it seemed like the adjustment was to get Jermichael Green in there and to spread the floor a little bit, give them a little bit more offense, but still have a big man in there. It worked incredibly well. Draymond almost had a triple-double, 11, 11, and 9. I thought Moses was good, and 10 points off the bench. Warriors bench produced 40 points and 16 rebounds. And good game for the Warriors, man. They plus 15 on the glass. They had 38 assists, plus 10 on the break, plus 6 points in the paint. A nice win for Golden State, a great bounce-back win. What'd you guys think?
Well, the biggest adjustment I saw, and Dan mentioned it pre-show, was that they put the ball into Steph Curry's hands. They didn't run him around off ball quite as much as were they giving him the rock, having Draymond set the pick, and Curry was making excellent decisions. And he had a bunch of hockey assists as well, where Draymond's getting it, they're collapsing on Draymond, and he's kicking out to JaMychal. So I saw the adjustment that Kerr made, and he said, hey, typically he's got this free motion offense. Tonight they made an adjustment, and it paid dividends. Kind of neutralized the Lakers' length in a way, because they were kicking out to so many open shooters and getting these open looks. Lakers had a ton of blocked shots game one, so they cut down on those. And like you mentioned, Larry, JaMychal Green showed up big time. He was excellent tonight. Stretched the floor. He was hitting the 3-ball. Klay Thompson, 8 of 11 from distance. I mean, Klay was in the zone. This whole team was locked in. It was just a great performance, and glad to even up the series here.
No doubt. Brandon Simmons says Draymond on AD full-time worked. Carl, what was your primary takeaway on this one? A great bounce-back win for Golden State. They had to have it, and they got it.
I'm going to go with 3 things, Larry. When we were in post-game after the last game, I said that it was very clear that Draymond Green was going to show up. I knew he'd be very disappointed in his performance. He felt like he didn't bring the energy. He didn't bring the verve. He didn't bring the decisiveness, and he clearly did that tonight. He wanted to guard Anthony Davis. He was prepared for it. Whatever they had on the scouting report, it was done to beauty. Even a couple of back cuts AD made. Draymond was on the little slip passes that were going there. The second thing was, of course, JaMychal Green showing up as a veteran. We talked last game about certain players and trying to find minutes and what could Kerr do, and he was being stubborn and all these things. And I remember sharing that he wasn't being stubborn. He was being a professional. He was being a winner. And part of winning when you're coaching is to make some decisions that may not be pleasant, including in your own locker room, because you have to challenge guys to be all about the group and not about the individual accomplishments. And I love the professionalism Gary Payton showed tonight, not playing very many minutes until pretty much the game was, of course, at hand. But he came out, he played with the same energy, the same effervescence. He was aggressive around the 10. Those things sent a great message to all young players. The third guy was just the fact that Moses Moody brought such a tremendous energy. He basically bottled up his Gary Payton too and said, hey, I'll do what I do and add in some of the defensive stalwart work that Gary puts in on some of their bigger wings. Roy Hachimura is becoming a really tough check in the series. Fortunately, though, he's so vulnerable defensively that they can't afford to make him the primary focus of their offense. And you could see LeBron in the second half just looked like he had really put a lot of energy out in the first half. And I think if they could have made a run, he could have pulled up a little bit more. But because the Warriors had extended it, I think it was time for them to just say, hey, let's go ahead and just get prepared for Game 3. And Game 3 is a critical piece. I believe the Warriors are going to come out, win Game 3, bring out the same fire they brought out tonight, and I think they're going to snatch momentum for this series.
Rye joins us as well. Danny, before you jump in, Rye, good to see you. Exciting night. Before Danny jumps in, even though Danny was here first, we'll let you go first to kind of work you in to the conversation since you're sitting right there. Go ahead, Rye. What'd you think? And then we'll let Danny get in here.
I mean, it was a good game. It was satisfying. I was kind of sort of what I was expecting, I guess, as far as AD and LeBron kind of really only going for how. Oh, I love that. I love that. You might have to turn the virtual background off because that clay is fire. But yeah, Clay showed up. Man, I would have loved to hear Michael Thompson on the call because, like, what the hell is that guy thinking? Like, he's got to be rooting for Clay, right? And then, Steph, I thought Steph had an awesome game. He kind of conserved energy. He sort of did what he did. I honestly thought in the previous game, he was sort of feeling it out. You see, like, LeBron, especially like later stage LeBron doing that a lot. He was kind of feeling it out. And he knew he had to get his guys going, especially after game 7. And especially that man right there, Clay on his boat. So that was awesome. And I mean, I think it is interesting as far as AD goes. I mean, historically, Draymond has done a great job on AD, especially in big games, just because he knows how to. First of all, he's quick enough to move with AD. You get Looney out on AD, past a certain amount of, he's going to blow right by him. So even though it's like Looney's great and he's a big body, Dre can stay with him. He's actually got a pretty similar standing reach. And Dre just knows those little things like, I'm going to push AD outside the key because I know there's a big part of AD's brain that thinks, you know what? I can shoot the jumper. I can shoot threes. Like, he can get in his head like that. And overall, I just thought it was good. But I mean, had to have this one.
Danny, what'd you think? Great win for the Warriors. I kind of thought they were going to bounce back. I bet it. Did you bet it?
I meant to, and then I had a phone call 10 minutes before the game, and it was a kind of a little crisis, and I had to take care of it, and then couldn't. And I was like, I want to get into the game. I got in. The game had just tipped off. So, but no big deal. I didn't worry about the bet, but I thought the key to the game was Kuminga getting 10 minutes. Yeah, no.
Wait. JD's going to come in here and just start ruffling feathers.
Yeah, no, Kuminga got his 10 minutes. No, the key, I got five or six things, and I'll sum up the 5 as in one, the starting 5. Mm-hmm. All of them played well. Both Greens. Wiggins had a very quiet. Well, I don't want to say quiet. It was kind of a quiet 20, but it was an efficient 20. It was he hit shots when he needed to. He was down there helping out on D. Curry played an excellent game distributing the ball with 12 assists. And then, of course, Clay. And then the bench, I'm going to give, Moody was awesome. I mean, that one thing where he was on the ground and just yanked it away from somebody. And, I mean, he's just showing total heart and tenacity going out there. And then I thought DiVincenzo played not a bad game, pretty good. He hit some key shots. He hit that driving reverse layup, then hit a how many threes did he have? 2 or 3?
He hit 2, but he took 8, which was actually
but the ones
really
he
good.
hit were
aggressive.
Right. The ones he hit were key parts of the game during the run. And I thought
my favorite DiVincenzo play was when Moody kind of tried to get it to him on a bounce pass that got away. DiVincenzo dove on the ground for it.
Yep.
Kicked
Good
it
hustle.
To Wiggins.
Floor burns.
Wiggins slung it to Curry in the corner for the 3. Like, I loved that play by DiVincenzo.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you look at the plus. Clay was plus 28. Wiggins was plus 35. And Curry was plus 24. They led the way. I thought Poole was pathetic again. Just like, nothing on offense really. And then defense, he's just like such a liability out there. I
don't get his mindset right now. I mean, not to jump in over you there, Danny, but I mean, game 1, 30 minutes, and he looked good in game 1. He had 30 points. He shot 55%, but 73% of his shots came from behind the 3-point line, and he just could not score or finish in the paint. And to me, I wanted to see him drive more and go to the free throw line more. Coming into tonight, Poole had attempted 28 threes against the Lakers in the last 3 games. So, you had reason to expect there was going to be more hoisting, but he just seems totally disconnected offensively and just kind of out of rhythm. I mean, I really think that I was listening to Kenny Atkinson in the pregame talking about this, and he was saying how he thinks Poole is such a key guy because of the way they're going to defend Steph, that they need Poole to make shots. But I wish they would emphasize to Poole, if they're not, maybe they are, to go to the bucket and to try to get to the line, because, I mean, one free throw attempt in game one. We are 2 games into this. This guy shoots 94% from the line, and he has taken a total of 3 free throw one free throw attempt, right? He had none tonight. He had 1 in game one. And I mean, it's not like he shot a bunch of threes tonight. He only took 2 threes. But he just looks out of sorts offensively. I don't think they can do this. I know they can't get by Denver without him, but I don't think they can even get by this Lakers team without him. If he can't get into a rhythm, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you have to think about with Jordan is if Jordan's not having a huge offensive night, we know that is his critical way that he can impact the game. That's his huge mass. That's where he can paint the biggest part of the portrait of a victory. Tonight, you could see he was a little bit off balance defensively, ended up with 5 personal fouls. He just couldn't seem to get out of the way. But the one thing he did do was he didn't hoist a lot of threes. He at least scored his 3 buckets from inside the lane. So he was aggressive. He had a putback. He had a couple of layup attempts. He missed one. If nothing else, you want to see him say, hey, if it's not there tonight, let me root for my teammates who are out there and who are playing well. And that was one positive that we can take. We know he's going to have to score, but we only need him to score in 4 wins.
And they cut way down the whole team, really. 42 attempts. The other night was, 53? I mean, Curry was 3 of 5. He only took 5 3-pointers.
DiVincenzo took the second most threes. He took 8.
Yeah, Clay took 11.
Who had been hesitant. So there was the positive and aggressiveness from him, from Moody. There was the one drawback of not being able to play Draymond and Looney together, so you have your 2 best defensive bigs. But I thought JaMychal Green, outside of 1 bump foul on AD, did a really good job defensively. And the other thing was he gave us something we were looking for, an athletic guy in the front court. He had 2 dunks tonight.
Yeah, he can stretch the floor, too. I mean, he creates space on offense.
I thought he would play a factor in this series. I really did. I thought one of the turning points, and I'm going to give credit to Kerr, calling the challenge in the second quarter on that charge to LeBron. It ended up getting 3 points out of it. They got a T on, Handy. Or is it Handy or Hand?
Phil Handy.
Handy, right. Yeah. Phil Handy, they got a T, and then Wiggins hit the 2 free throws. That was a big turnaround because that put them up by 10. And it wasn't like, oh, man, you're like, hey, it's only 1 foul. It's LeBron didn't have any. It wasn't like it was getting LeBron in foul trouble, but you could feel the Warriors starting to make a run. And I feel like Kerr sensed that. It was like, yes, let's take advantage of this right now and get 2 points out of it. And then the bonus with the T was great. But, and then Jeff Van Gundy's like, oh, I think he's in legal guarding position. I'm like, what are you talking about? He turned his shoulder. He's sideways. How is that I ref basketball. He's not set in a guarding position. What a moronic comment that was.
Well, I want to pile on Eric Lewis, because that's the official who made that call. And you know me, guys, I don't like to really talk officials, but there were 3 atrocious calls by Eric Lewis in this game. I had to write them down. There was the overturned charge call that you spoke of. There was another play where Russell had the ball and he's reaching back and he's grabbing Steph's arm, and Lewis whistles Steph Curry for a foul, which that was awful. And then there was another play where D'Lo went up for a shot in a manner that was completely unnatural, just trying to draw some type of contact. Lewis blew the whistle on that. So in that first quarter, to me, it appeared like referee Eric Lewis had a substantial wager, potentially first half Lakers.
Well, I'll tell you one thing also that since it did go a little bit both ways. How about the non-traveling call on Steph Curry?
Yes.
Well, he kind of bobbled it for a sec. He kind of bobbled it. That was the out there. It looked like
I know, but you can bobble it as long as you let go of it. But if you bobble it and move your feet and then regather it and pass it,
You can bobble
it's
it all
called
the way down the
it
court.
looked like a travel.
it's called walking. Yeah, could you imagine? It's like the basketball equivalent of the holy roller.
Okay,
ho.
I get where you're going. Okay.
No, but I mean,
looked like a travel.
Yeah, it was
I'll
a
tell you
travel. It was a Steph Curry favorable call for sure.
One area I think the league totally blew it tonight, and if I'm Draymond, that call where D'Angelo Schroeder pulled his knee could have been a potentially season-ending injury by yanking on his knee out. I mean, what's the difference for?
What's the purpose of that too? What was the purpose of that?
I mean, if you get it in the nuts versus the knee, I mean, come on.
He was sending a message. Guys don't like to get the drag screens, Dan. I know your brother Steve teaches that drag screen.
Yeah, I tell you pull that knee though. I'm telling you, next time somebody does
highlights, he's whacked people.
It's a common foul. This precedent's been set.
They ain't doing that at Del Boca Vista. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, you'll be some serious breakdancing.
We at least have to be fair. Last year in the second round in the Memphis series, Jordan Poole did that when he grabbed Ja Morant's knee.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed the fact that we didn't get our guy thrown out.
I just think that's a dangerous precedent because now you come around that screen, just grab the guy's knee if you want to commit a foul, and maybe you knock him out of the series.
It's a little bit more of a alt point on what you guys are saying is the thing that I think ultimately is the most annoying is that these players that are kind of spazzes tend to get a more favorable whistle than a guy who's just totally in control like a Steph Curry. Because you think about it, Malik Monk, the guy just spazzes out at the rim. That was last round, of course. And then Schroeder. I mean, Jordan Poole gets way better whistle than Steph. That guy is spazzing all over the place. He just does it so quickly and abruptly and jerkily that, it's like, if you're a ref, like, what are you going to do?
You think he got hit?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
we've seen 2 games so far, Ryan, and you're right on it. And Steph Curry has officially shot 1 free throw that was the cause of a foul when he had the ball in his hands, or even an off-ball foul. The other 2 free throws he took were for technical fouls.
Oh, think about he averages about 5 free throws a game, even like during the season. Think about how much winning he's done over his career and how probably at least 2.5 of those are from end of the game and he's shooting free throws because they're up so big or, technical foul.
The recovery 716 makes a super chat. He says, "Let's go, baby. Have we figured the Lakers out? What did we do differently in this game? Can this continue in LA? Love the show. Warriors." I think they did a number of different things.
It's a series, but it's a game within a game. Each game's different. That's the one thing you can't.
There were a lot of different things in this one tonight. I thought, one thing that kind of stood out to me is in game 1. First of all, LeBron came out hot. He came out hot early. I thought that was a big key for sure for the Lakers. But to me, it's really as basic as just rebounding. I mean, the Lakers out-rebounded the Warriors in the regular season. They won on the glass 53-49, so they were +4 in game 1. And if even in the one game that the Lakers lost to the Warriors this year, they badly out-rebounded them. So that was the big thing to me. It was like Golden State was going to have to fight on the glass, and they held their own. They held their own on the glass. And to me, the points in the paint thing was in game 1 was 54-28. And then in this one, I think it was +6 Warriors. So, I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest turnarounds as far as paint points in a 2-game stretch ever. From 54-28, and you're minus a ton to, +6 tonight. So, to me, I think that was a big part of it. And then, what I was expecting to see the Warriors get a bunch of free throw attempts, but instead they just kind of let them play, but didn't really send either side to the line very much. Both teams shot. I mean, Lakers were 10 of 17, Warriors were 10 of 16, so that was a neutralized area. To me, if there's one thing that jumped out that you say, what's the big difference game 1, game 2? Well, obviously Anthony Davis, but outside of Anthony Davis, to me it was the assist total. I mean, when Golden State plays a game where they make the extra pass, and when they make the extra pass and don't turn it over, now they did turn it over 16 times, but the Lakers didn't turn it into a lot of points. But overall, the 38 assists, that's a gaudy number. I mean, if they can get to 30, I think Kerr feels good. They almost got to 40 tonight. I'd love to see their record when they're, 35 assists or more. I guarantee you it's an overwhelming winning record. So to me, that's a big part of Golden State's thing. And then I'll also say this, too. It's like, Looney didn't play as many minutes as he would normally play. Obviously, that was probably due to illness, but he only played 12 minutes. And then GP2 only played 9 minutes. And yet, you know what? He's not pouting. He's there on the bench. He's still contributing. Somebody's minutes were going to have to, be taken away, and it was his. And then Jordan Poole. I mean, to me, I like the fact that Kerr took Poole's minutes away a little bit because, I thought he had some issues. I would like him to play differently than the way he's playing. But other people, some of my buddies are like, Krug, that was not a good move because they absolutely need Poole, and Kerr is not showing confidence in Kuminga. He's not showing consistent confidence in Moody, and he's not showing consistent confidence in Poole. And my buddy's theory is that's going to burn him in the end. What do you guys think?
Well, Larry, how many of your buddies are NBA coaches?
Not too many.
Thank you.
Only like 44.
The challenge for so many fans is that, one, they're looking for perfection, and we're all fans, but we all try to take a look at the game a little bit deeper, which is why we're on the show. The biggest thing you have to think about is there's only X number of minutes in a game. There's 48 minutes times 5, 240. You already know 4 guys are going to average 30-plus minutes. Potentially a 5th guy is going to be somewhere in the high 20s. So relative to that, there's only so much coming off your bench, and you're going to get something from one guy, which means you give up something from another. I thought it was masterful not only how Kerr coached this game, but I think how Kerr is now going to approach this series, which is I now have a spacer who can now do what Hachimura does for the Lakers, which is give them a 4 on the floor, who can space the floor, who can guard in the post just enough, but he doesn't have to exclusively guard a post man. And as I said the other night, the whole thought about double teaming Anthony Davis, I never agreed with that. I've even heard some guys on some of the sports channels saying that. You don't go double a guy because he's going to get 30, who can get 30. You keep guys who shouldn't have 20 from getting 20. And tonight, Schroeder finished with what, 6?
Right, and he had 19 in game 1.
He had 19 in game 1, and you also did not have D'Angelo Russell tearing up the whole interior defense. So those two things, and the other stat that I was very happy with, the Warriors lost the steal battle tonight. That doesn't sound like a victory, except what it says is instead of going for a lot of steals, tonight they played better positional defense. Outside of Jordan Poole, there were very few fouls. I think Steph had 1, maybe a second one that he got, and maybe Clay had 1, where they were kind of out of position and they just put their hand out just enough or got their hand in the cookie jar where you get those fouls and send guys to the line. That was the reason they were so successful defensively, because we know they can rebound. They gang rebound, and they did a great job of it.
Yeah, good point about the steals, because that's what got the Warriors in big trouble was reach, man. That's the one thing you're taught in basketball. Don't reach for the ball, don't reach. You're constantly in it. I mean, when I was an official, guys that slap down, it's,
And I'd pay a lot of money to see old videos of you giving out tees.
We did. I bet you rolled up your sleeves and showed the guns. Were you like the basketball version of Hockley?
Hockley, yeah.
Were you just like one of those guys like, damn right, Coach Emilio, bitches? And then were you kind of like that kind of a ref?
I was in my late 20s, and I felt like I could back then. I wouldn't even attempt it today. Backpedaling, I'd be flat on my back.
Hey,
But
Dan, you gave out
I
a
can
quick
backpedal
tee, huh?
pretty good.
I feel
What's that?
like you gave out a quick tee.
Settle the game down.
No, I'd take it. I'd listen, and I'd tell him enough, give him a couple warnings, and then it was no more. Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought up your officiating because I have a record here of your phone calls, and you called Scott Foster 750 times right before tip-off. Can you address that now here on the Krug Show? It seems that you called a Mr. Donaghy.
Yeah, me and Tim.
It looks like every night, right about 5 to 7, you, Mr. Coach Emilio, you called said referee.
Somebody's got to pay for this house.
Yeah, exactly. Dan takes off. He's got a motion picture. The crooked referee. Drew Down says, "Put some respect on Jermichael Green, you jabronis." Wait, who you calling jabroni?
DJ Venus.
Oh, not directed at the host, but the
refereeing,
haters.
Varsity
you go.
basketball in high school.
Mario Trutanic says, "Small ball, Steph running the point and not playing two bigs were the keys to the game. Don't tell Cy." You agree with that, guys?
Well, what is Jermichael Green? Jermichael Green is two bigs.
But he's a shooter.
They played two bigs. They just played a big that's mobile and athletic.
Yeah, not playing two non-shooters.
That's.
I think the other thing I liked about, sorry to interrupt, but one thing I really enjoy is Jermichael Green and Draymond are really close. And Draymond almost had a triple-double tonight. He had a bunch of assists, and more than one of those were setting up Jermichael Green. And I like that. I mean, so much about basketball is not just how well you play, but how well you play with the other guys on the floor. And to me, there was I thought, credit Jermichael Green. I'm not saying he didn't do it tonight, but credit Draymond as well for getting him, I would say, 2 or 3 easy buckets, and some great looks and playing with pace and poise inside, making that extra pass. When Golden State guys is making the extra pass, they're a tough team to beat. They really are.
Well, Larry, what I really think helped contribute to that tonight was the adjustment that we spoke of earlier, getting the ball into Curry's hands, where the Lakers were paying him so much attention. We saw the camera angle where I think it was Reeves and Anthony Davis are both just staring at Curry, and he whipped it right between them, bounced pass to Draymond for a layup. And I loved how aggressive Draymond was receiving the ball off of that pick and roll. And then he was also kicking it out to open shooters because then they're collapsing on Draymond. So really, I thought it was the adjustment that Kerr made, or whether maybe Curry made it himself on the floor and said, "Hey, get me the rock, set me the pick, and let's go to work."
I think
I want.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead,
Well,
Paul.
I wanted to touch on Jordan Poole because he has been getting me frustrated more lately, and I know he didn't attempt a bunch of threes, but I wrote down he's taking these low percentage shots, and I put out a tweet where he just went wildly into D'Angelo Russell, didn't make, he was looking for a foul call, didn't get it, but he just jumped into Russell, and then on the other side of the court, Hachimura goes right by him backdoor for a layup. So it's just sequences like that frustrate the heck out of me. I know he had a pretty good game one, but tonight was not his best work. And then before I pass the mic to Dan, I'll say in that first quarter, I was nervous, fellas. That first quarter, LeBron, he came in to this series or into this game shooting 18% from distance.
I know. He got it
was
going.
Knocking down threes. Hachimura turned into like prime Rashard Lewis. He was knocking up. Vanderbilt hit an early 3. The Warriors were down at the first quarter after the first quarter, and I'm thinking, man, Lakers shoot it like this, and we're in trouble. But hey, luckily the percentages play themselves out, and we saw what happened.
95.7 the game. Brian, who somebody else said Brian works for somebody else. Do we know? Do you remember that? I
The
forget.
Lakers?
Brian. No.
No, he's
Yeah,
writing
like-
somewhere. He's writing somewhere.
Brian, give us your thing. I keep calling you 95.7 Brian, and we could actually promote your actual deal right now. But he says, hey y'all. Man, we don't get a lot of hey y'alls. Welcome to Amarillo. It was a great all-around win for the Warriors tonight. A lot to discuss per usual. First thing that stands out, though, is they had 38 assists on 48 made shots. That's the biggest turnaround, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean they were very efficient tonight. I mean they for the most part, when you have 38 assists and what do they turn it over 16 times? I'll take that ratio. Take that ratio every day.
I'll say
about who
with
handles
the,
the highest percentage of those assists.
yeah.
They're two
Exactly.
best decision makers, Dre and Steph.
Yep, they got between them. Steph had 12, and Draymond had 9. So 21 assists between the two of them. This is where I think the Warriors, the turnovers, they keep them down. They were 15, but I discount the ones in garbage time because I don't know how many there were in garbage.
Kuminga was in, so
I don't know how many turnovers there were in garbage time, but 5 or 6. But Warriors keep it close to 10, and they rebound. They're going to win the games because of they're going to be able to shoot more threes, possessions. And just keep the Lakers. Tonight on the rebounds, how many the Lakers have total?
Total
40,
rebounds?
40, and the Warriors had where is that? Where's the rebounds on the Warriors? 55. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
they
was
killed
plus
them.
15, plus
So
15 on the glass.
Even if they stay even with them, but if they can win the glass and not turn it over, I think they can win this in 6 because I just don't see the Lakers keeping up with them. The Warriors, when they lose, it's usually them playing sloppy and fouling.
Well, how much of this, guys, was the Warriors tonight as opposed to, the Lakers got on the plane to come up here and they said one thing. We got to get a split. We got to get a split. They got game 1. And I don't want to say they no-showed game 2 because it makes it sound like I'm discrediting the Warriors. But the Lakers just seemed like, hey, we got what we came for, and I think you're going to see a much different Laker team in game 3 at Crypto Saturday at 5:30. No?
I don't see it for this reason, Larry. The Lakers played 7 guys tonight. All their other guys played in garbage time. They gave Gabriel a 1-minute stint earlier in the game during the first 3 quarters. He played for 1 minute. It was Hachimura and it was Schroeder.
That's it.
That doesn't give them a lot of variables. The Lakers can't change styles. They can change the pace they play at, but they cannot change styles because they don't have enough flexible pieces at guard and at wing. Reeves is not giving them a lot right now. He's playing solid. He's being a stable guy. But right now, if they could, he would be coming off the bench if they had a guy who could play the 3 who could really do some damage. So they're now in a position where they're going to go home. They're going to talk about playing better defensively. They're going to talk about enforcing their will and posting up. It's going to sound like a game plan from the 1980s. That's not a lot of variables. They don't have the same kind of pieces to move around in different ways they can play. So I really think the series changed tonight. I'm not saying the Lakers can't win a game, but they'd have to win a game by, like what Dan said, the Warriors would have to play poorly because if the Warriors play well, the Lakers will not beat them.
One from Brian here, and then we'll welcome in the guys. He says, Brian Iglesias says a lot of great performances tonight for the Warriors. One major aspect that changed the game was Draymond staying out of foul trouble. Only 3 fouls tonight, and it was a major bounce-back game for Draymond. I absolutely agree with that. Mark Hope says, Larry, I'm here for the best post-game show anywhere. Hi, haters. Where's Larry's dough? Oh, look at that. Jeez. I like Mark. Mark's like a bouncer at the door, He's like shaking people down. What do you got in your pocket? Come on in. Yeah, come on. Drop it right there. Give me your keys. I'll take you. What do you got in the wallet? All right. So let's see. You got any cards? Throw them down. We welcome in Cy and Frank. Guys, we've been talking about this for about 40 minutes already. Thanks for jumping in. And I know Red, you were in transit. Cy, you were locked on. Locked On. Was Rick Barry part of the Locked On extravaganza tonight?
Kylan was with me tonight, and it was a fun show. But great to see you all.
Well, why don't we start with Cy, and then we'll jump to Red. We've all kind of given our thoughts on the game. What jumped out to you guys? Obviously, a great bounce back win for Golden State. I think, what did I see, the last 16 times the home team has lost game one, they've bounced back to win game two. Shocker. I cashed on it. That's all I care about. Cy, what'd you think?
I think we saw the better team tonight. I don't think it's even in dispute which team is better in this series. Like, the Warriors should win this series. I gave Steve Kerr his due on Locked On Warriors. I'll give it again. He made adjustments that made a huge difference. I'm not I love Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's a great player, but me clamoring for him wasn't necessarily because I love him and I think he should play. And, I'm like a stan. No, I think the Warriors need size, man. I pointed this out. Like, you look at the dynasty teams and you look at, of all the dynasty teams, this is the smallest, right? Like, they don't have that 6'8" guy coming off the bench. At least they haven't yet. But to see JaMychal Green start and to see this very simple strategy there where he basically was trying to have at least two bigs on the floor at all times, but only have one non-shooter in the process, because JaMychal was 3 for 6 from beyond the arc. He made a huge difference there. He spaces the floor. He's not a scrub. Like, this was like the worst year of his career. And who knows why? He had.
Thank you.
Bless you, Frank. He had that leg injury, that weird infection. Like, that was just odd, and he missed a lot of games for that. He had COVID. His 3-point shot was kind of off most of the year. But this is a guy that is a baller, man. He can play. What's up, Eric? And so, I'm really relieved. I'm really relieved we saw JaMychal Green. I'm really relieved that if Kerr isn't going to put his trust in Kuminga, at least he's putting it in Moody. I love Moody, man. I mean, that's another player I've been advocating for between the 6'5". I mean, he's 6'5".
He's ready. He's ready now.
He's ready. He's absolutely ready. And so I loved seeing him. I love the simple offensive adjustment of implementing the pick and roll. A very simple set that I think Stephen Curry's one of the best in the history of this game at running, even though the Warriors don't run that offense. When you see a pick and roll play from Stephen Curry, it works. It is deadly. And Stephen Curry tonight turned into a distributor. I mean, those 12 assists were like the highest for a postseason game from him in like 10 years, which is crazy. So 12 assists for Steph. It helped Clay. It opened him up because the defense kept collapsing on Steph. And you had Clay just shooting wide open shots without trying to, play off the dribble. Instead, he was just sitting there, like, not dribbling, just simply focusing on shooting. And it was just a great performance, man. And I don't think that the Lakers have the talent to beat this Warriors team. They're going to take care of business. I'm guessing 6 games. That's my prediction. I think it'll go 6.
I'll tell you one thing I love to see the Warriors get out and run a little bit more. It was 17-7 on the break. I think Warriors had 14 on the break in game one. This Laker team is not built to get out and run with Golden State. That they're not the worst transition defense ever, but I just don't think that's the way they want to play. I don't think that's the way they can play in a series where there's just one day off and they've got some serious age and mileage on their tires. Frank, give us your thoughts, man. What's your breakdown on this one tonight?
While I was watching the game, I was thinking to myself, man, you know what? Like, I listen to a lot of sports talk shows, and you got irate fans, or even sometimes the hosts are really delving in major hyperbole. But
it sounds like you may have heard Locked On maybe on the way over here.
But you know what though? I mean, like what
does that mean? What are you saying, Larry?
I'm just fucking with you.
I'm kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
Watch it. No, go ahead, Frank.
When I reflect on game one and all the previous shows that we actually talk about sports, and we actually kind of are preludes to what Kerr and his coaches and the players kind of figure out when they go to practice the next day, because we were making some points, and then I'm watching the game and go, wow, these coaches actually know what they're doing. They're really smart. They're really creative. And, they don't make shots. Players make shots. But as coaches, you have to put your players in positions to be successful. Number one, I just thought the physicality of game two was far different. Draymond Green was he was appalled by how poorly he played. And he said straight up, I'm going to play better. And he went out there and he set the physical tone for this game. And I think that put the Lakers on their heels, obviously putting the ball in Steph's hands. He's a very competent point guard. It not only created opportunities for himself, but it created opportunities for his teammates. Clay was on one. You know what? No matter how bad Clay plays, this dude is a Hall of Famer, one of the toughest players we've seen mentally. And I just have so much respect for him. Also, they probably had a heart-to-heart with all of the team members. And you saw it in Dante's play tonight. We talked about him being a little hesitant, a little non-aggressive. And I'm sure these guys wrapped their arms around him and said, Dante, you're one of us, dude. You belong here. And guess what he did? He came out and he let it fly. He made some, he missed some, but there was no slippage in that chain because Dante was like, you know what? I feel like I'm at Villanova again. And it was just beautiful to watch. Now, it's a make-or-miss league. The Warriors can execute the same game plan on Saturday, and if they don't make shots, they're not going to win. But if they make shots, they play this beautiful style of basketball, they're going to be tough. And, I mean, there's so many pluses on the Warriors team. It's almost foolish to even talk about it. It was a beautiful exhibition of basketball. Everybody, with the exception of one guy, had a good game. I'm not going to mention him.
JP?
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you mentioned a good point, Larry, about running. The key to that is it all starts with defense and getting into rebounding position, because if you can control the boards and get the defensive rebound, you can run this team into the ground, especially if Draymond gets the ball and takes it, and he's the guy running straight up the middle with the ball full speed. That is going to wear these guys out, and it creates open threes. It creates transition layups or dunks. They got to play strong defense and box out, because if they let Anthony Davis control the boards like they did in game one, that takes away a big part of the Warriors game, which is fast-paced movement and creating open shots. You saw that tonight. I think if they do that, if they could do that, I mean, you could be right, Larry. They could win it in 5, but I think it's going 6.
I just think there's so much money to be made there's all kinds of NBA series that Team A looks dramatically better than Team B, and it goes 7. It's like, what? Yeah. How did that happen? Because it just seems like they take turns winning. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's all a big fix. It's not WWE or anything. It's not, and off the top rope. It's not. It's not that. But it does feel impacted by the referees when you see a free throw disparity. The thing that bothers me, I guess, more than anything, and I'll get off it, but it just seems like so many of these dubious things that just kind of come out of nowhere and nobody can really explain it. It always seems like it results in the NBA making more money. It's not, never do these things happen and the NBA makes less money. Oh, you know what? We were going to get a knockdown, drag out Warriors-Lakers series, but we didn't because the calls all went to the Warriors in the first round, and nobody really watched that series because the Warriors showed by going up 3-0 that it wasn't much of a series. No. It's like we're gonna get some crazy disparity free throw situation in game 1, and then all of a sudden the Lakers. I mean, to me, the Lakers-Warriors series is way higher rated going forward if the Lakers get game 1. I said it in the pregame of game 1, and sure enough, Lakers got this unbelievable gift-wrapped, free throw parade, and shockingly won game 1. So, but I do think the Warriors are the better team. I do think they'll get out of the series. But guys, I think it might be time for us to realize that outside of tonight, the Warriors have pretty much had their way, or the Lakers have pretty much had their way with the Warriors, out rebounding them in almost every single game. Even the one game in the regular season the Warriors won, the Lakers badly out rebounded them. It's in a lot of ways this is not a very good matchup. But I will say this: I do like the fact that Kerr and his coaching staff found the right equation. Right? They took GP2 off the floor. Looney played. I mean, Looney wound up playing less minutes. I'll tell you, I was a little nervous because I bet the game, and I'm sitting there going, "Wait a second." They got hammered on the glass, and now Looney is sick, and I didn't know how many minutes he was going to play. He only wound up playing 12, and I'm like, "Wait a second." They're gonna now. I've already wagered on the Warriors, and Looney's out, and the Lakers have out rebounded the Warriors by a ton. But the Lakers just had this look tonight, like, "Hey, man, we got what we wanted in game one, and we're only going to expend the minimal amount of energy. And if we were in it at the end, we'll get motivated. But you know what? I think they're getting on their plane, going back to LA, going mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I don't think they're sweating this one at all.
Agreed.
That's just my
I
read
totally
on it.
agree. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Gary Payton II thing is interesting. You brought up. We talked about it a little bit too. How he just, he played himself out of the series. It's really weird, but yeah, he's out of the rotation after like 2 games. It's kind of wild. But it worked, right? That's what
Do you think
matters.
that's just for the night, or you think that's going to be the deal going forward?
I think it's for. I mean, like the way Kerr usually operates. If he makes an adjustment that works, he's just going to keep rolling with that until the other team does something that makes his adjustment null and void, and then you see an adjustment from him. It would shock me if, like, in game 3, Gary Payton II saw minutes again. I mean, we saw DiVincenzo play those, 27, 28 minutes for good reason. Unlike Gary Payton II, DiVincenzo can be your point guard. He can handle the ball. He can make plays offensively. Gary Payton II is more of like a, put back offensive rebound type guy, corner 3 type guy, setting screens and just,
Which
he's
the
not
corner
playing.
3 hasn't been falling, Cy.
And that hasn't even fallen. You're right.
He hasn't been hitting the corner 3, and I think that's what last year he was. That's why he had that such an epic playoff run, is he was hitting these corner 3s. Those aren't falling right now, so it makes him kind of one-dimensional as a slasher.
Yeah,
it just makes them small too. I mean, let's be honest.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes them a smaller team. It was either going to be DiVincenzo or Payton who was going to come off the floor, and he chose Payton, and he probably made the right decision.
And Poole, because Poole only played 15 minutes tonight. I'm really glad that Kerr has kind of tightened that leash, right? Like,
were you guys like on Poole after last night?
Well, no. I mean, I was on. I mean, he had a great night as far as his scoring. I just think that he's not. He's not. Yeah, that's Ryan in the middle square there. He's not Steph Curry at the 3-point line, but he is Steph Curry at the free throw line, and yet he can't seem to get to the free throw line, and he keeps taking these deep threes.
Yeah.
Like he is Steph Curry, and it's like if you watch these guys, you'd swear, oh man, both these guys are 40% from 3, and but no. Curry is the awesome 3-point shooter, and Poole is a streaky shooter who shoots 31%, something like that, 32.
Yeah,
what is it
here this
I
year?
think what you're going to see though, Larry, and we kind of touched on this a little bit after game 1. Part of the change in the offense was inclusive of the pick and roll, which we know allowed them to open up a whole new set of goodies. You saw a lot of options off of screens, pin downs, or just movement where guys were moving inside of the free throw line where they could get a 10 to 12 footer. Steph did it once where he set up Schroeder. Schroeder thought he was going on top of Draymond. He top locked him. He ended up stuck behind the screen, and Steph was able to get about a 12-foot shot. Clay was able to do it a couple of times. You're going to find out that what's going to happen with Poole is they're going to encourage Jordan to just take his pull-up jumper, just one hard dribble at a guy, get the guy to back up really hard. Don't take it to Anthony Davis like he keeps trying to do, but just snatch it back and pull up from about 14, 15. And he's an incredibly efficient shooter from that range on pull-ups. Part of what players have to do is they have to look at film and make their adjustments. And it was very clear tonight that some guys had really taken the time to take a look, and some other guys had taken a look at, hey, how are we going to win this series? Coach, if you think this is what it's going to take for us to win it, I'm willing to do whatever you need. And that's why you need professionals. And it's no disrespect to anybody else, but I was listening to Chris Mullins and also one of the other guys who was on the Warriors broadcast. And they both talked about on their post-game show how there was professionalism they were seeing from people. It's very clear there's some underlining statements that are being said by some of the guys that are close enough to the team to let you know there's some little massaging that's going on, and guys are going to get there, because if you want to make a run to the championship, you got to take each level and just win that and forget about what's going to happen after, forget about egos, because it's all about we're trying to just move forward.
You know, you made a point there about the shots, the 10 to 12, 14 footers. That was the point I made Monday night as far as what I wanted to see him do. The adjustment is that shot was open all Monday night. Instead of taking it all the way to the hole and getting it blocked, just pull up and shoot that short jumper. And it's there. I think it'll be there most of the series, because if Davis comes out too far toward the free throw line, they'll blow by him.
Go right by him.
We got a couple good super chats here. Is it the Canthal kid? Says, great game. I don't think people understand how hard it is for someone like Jermichael Green to go from DNPs to starting and knocking down multiple big shots. That's a good call. Mm-hmm. We got this one from Mark Hope. It says, Larry, Dan, Carl, Rye, Frank, Cy, Baller. Peace.
Oh.
Look at that. Mark Hope. I've got a good one in here. Where's the one that I saw that I just loved? Here we go. James Foster.
Dollar amount.
James Foster says, Kings in 7. Light the beam. Okay. You know, timing is everything in life with these things.
The Warriors took a shit on that beam. The Warriors took a big fat dump where the beam comes out of.
You guys ever see that commercial where the couple's sitting at a table and she's like, I love you. And then he says nothing. He's staring into the distance. She's all disgusted. She gets up and walks away. And then he says, after she's walked away, he goes, I love you too. And then on the bottom of the screen, it says, timing is everything. You know, timing is
Larry,
is
can
everything.
I ask a question? We've got a couple guys that have done some significant coaching, specifically Cy and also Red. If you were the Lakers coaching staff and their head coach comes to you and says, hey, what do you think we ought to do to make a change in game 3 be more effective? What would you recommend?
Great question. I don't think the Lakers have the personnel, man. I really don't. I don't. They're not a better team. If I had my hands to the wall, I'd probably start using some of the more athletic wings. I'm one of the few people apparently that thinks Lonnie Walker is a decent player, and he's played himself out of the rotation. Malik Beasley is another one. I thought he was a great player, but he's not getting a run with this Lakers team. So I would.
Beasley would be a great call. Yeah, I think Beasley could help.
They don't trust him.
No,
it's amazing because when they got him, he immediately stepped in and started playing well. I'll tell you one observation I've had about where they're going. I want to hear Red's thoughts too, because you posed that kind of towards him. But to me, the Lakers after Game 1 were clearly daring Golden State's bigs to score, and tonight the trio of Looney, Jermichael Green, and Draymond put up 32. 32 combined points. So, the Lakers dared Golden State's bigs to actually be an offensive force, and Golden State's bigs came through. What's the next wrinkle? What's the next adjustment? Frank, I'll defer to you. What do you think?
Well, I mean, your best player has to get the ball. I mean, and he has to want the ball. So early in the game, I'm going to make sure that Anthony Davis is in a position where he can catch it and he can make something happen offensively. I'm also, you can do a lot of, I call it mental coaching. You can do a lot of coaching off the basketball court in a room, not even looking at film, but just kind of like talking to guys to make sure that they're in sync. Kind of like what Steph Curry did before Game 7 in Sacramento. Well, I guess he was on the bus before they went there. But that's coaching. Just really making sure that you are aligned mentally. Anthony Davis, as everybody is saying, had the look that, we won one. My game, my job is over in the Bay Area. I'm going to go back to Los Angeles. And Darvin Ham and the rest of these coaches' messages, tomorrow's not promised. If you want to win a championship, you got to play like it. And you got to get into your superstars, because a lot of times it's kind of a hands-off. I don't want to piss these guys off. Listen, it's two things going to happen. You're either going to have success or you're going to get fired. It's okay to get fired. It's all right. This is money time. If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, if Anthony Davis is not shooting at least 18 to 22 times, then you failed because LeBron's a 38-year-old player. The first half, he was fluid. He was warmed up. The second half, know what happened to him? His pores opened up. When your pores open up as a 38-year-old player, it's not the same. That lift, that recoil on your shot, it's not there. So they have to coach these guys up. Their game plan is okay. Anthony Davis needs to take control, but they got to coach these guys up and play like the intensity level of the Golden State Warriors did tonight. Draymond Green tonight was ready, and he might have punched somebody figuratively if they didn't show up with the same level of intensity that he showed up with. That's what it's about. This is not about magical plays and stuff like this. This is about who wants to win and who's willing to do. Perfect play. Moses Moody. The ball's on the floor. He got three guys around him. He dives on the floor. He's looking, and he passes the ball to an open Warrior. Why? Because he wanted to make that play. We didn't see that from the Lakers tonight, and maybe we'll see it on Sunday. But I got to think that right now, the Warriors had the advantage because they saw the ball go through the basket. You know, they know what they can do. But that's the level of intensity that you got to have if you want to win these big-time games.
Intensity, urgency. You know, Brian Iglesias is talking about the urgency. I think that's kind of spot on exactly what you're talking about, Red. The Warriors came out with a lot of urgency. They had to win game 2. They weren't going to win this series if they lost the first 2 at home, and they knew it. So they came out with more urgency. The Lakers had a whole lot less. To me, this thing, I don't know that there's a lot we can take away from tonight. I think the Lakers literally, they're at a point in their history as a team where they don't bring it every night. They bring it, they play in the series. So they got what they came for. It was a road trip. They wanted to get a split. They got a split. Warriors
shouldn't have. The Warriors should have won game 1, though. I mean, we shouldn't ignore that. It's a bummer that they lost. There is one other really important adjustment that was made tonight too. Kevon Looney has already shown, and this is where experience really matters, right? Like last year in the first round, Nikola Jokic was eating Kevon Looney up. And they had to stop that immediately. Like Kevon Looney was removed from the starting lineup. That's when Jordan Poole slipped in there. And for a brief moment, we were having debates about what kind of nickname we should call for the Splash Brothers and the pool party. And Kevon Looney was rendered almost irrelevant in that series. That happens sometimes. He can't defend everyone. And we've learned that Anthony Davis is not Domantas Sabonis. They're very different players, and Anthony Davis is a lot better. So I know he didn't feel good, but it's purely speculative to say that he didn't start because of his illness. I really believe that JaMychal Green started because Kerr realized that this is not a matchup that's great for Kevon Looney defending Anthony Davis. Draymond Green can handle that, but by getting JaMychal in there as well, you got extra size, you got the spacing with a three-point shot that you absolutely do not get with Kevon Looney, and it paid wonders, man. I mean, and I think that's a strategy that hopefully we'll see for the rest of the series.
Conspiracy: Looney was not sick. I'm not
saying that. I'm not saying that, but I don't think the decision was made because.
Wait a second, you're locked on. I thought you can say that.
That's a good point about JaMychal Green, though, because I do think that remember he was kind of brought in to be Otto Porter's replacement.
Correct.
He was the stretch 3 and the guy that could play a 5 at times. This is a good matchup. This series. I mean, it really. All the playoffs are all about matchups. That's why he didn't play against Sacramento. It just wasn't the right matchup. But
he could have played. I think he should have played.
Steve G says $9.99 just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Look, JaMychal Green played one game in that King series. It was game 3, and he played great. I don't understand why we never saw him.
And him and the coach got in a shouting match, right?
Him and Kenny Atkinson.
Kenny Atkinson, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Believe me, I noticed that too, man. That was something.
Thunderbird says my hot ass sister loves Psy.
Well, thank you. That's
interesting.
Can't complain about that.
It's good to know. It's good to know. It's why this show is what it is. Everybody is here. Everybody who's on this show is here for their looks. All right. You don't realize none of these guys have ever known. None of these guys on this panel know anything about basketball. They are all perfectly picked for a certain look and a demographic that we're trying to attract to the show. Danny's bringing in an older group of women that I can't even tell you really wasn't with us last year. But this year, they're with us in great number. We're doing fat numbers in Del Boca Vista. We're thinking about doing a road trip to Laughlin just because, just for the hell of it. We got this one from G2 the Universe. I honestly respect all these guys' opinions. Everybody? Really? No, but great job, Larry, assembling these familiar faces into the panel. There you go. Well, lots of research. I look at a lot of printouts, and they say it all arrives at get Coach Emilio back in the square, and they want him in the top square. That's the other thing. The other feedback. I don't just put Danny in the top in the middle for no reason. They want him.
Joshua Shaw, come on.
They want him in the top square. Okay. What do you? Once again, I thought the best question was posed by was it Red or no? It was Carl who asked about what's the adjustment. Let's hit on that. Anybody have any more concepts or ideas or because we're really guessing. I mean, that's the beauty of these post games. We don't know, but one thing we do know is that there's going to be an adjustment. We don't know what the adjustment's going to be, and that's why some of these basketball post game, with a series, the post game shows are great because there's going to be a wrinkle, there's going to be a new look, there's going to be a counter to what the Warriors did. The Lakers dared the Warriors bigs to get some offense. The Warriors bigs got some offense. What do you think we're going to see in Game 3?
Well, I actually been responding to Cy with the Jermichael Green. I think that the whole Jermichael Green thing was just because, ultimately at his core essence, Davis is kind of a lazy MFer, and I think these every other day from here on out, especially. I think that he was pretty much, even though he was incredible on defense in Game 1, he also was kind of resting on defense. Like he was just camping in the paint. Just kind of doing his thing in the paint, hanging out. He had his buddy LeBron to his left. He's got freaking somebody else to his right. He's got support. So this was about getting him outside of the paint. You actually have to guard someone. We have to get a shooter on the floor. And you saw it. He got freaking tired in the last game, and it was a miracle. I have no idea how he even played 46 minutes.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell he did.
Yeah. Every time the Warriors go zone, if I'm the Lakers, I'm moving LeBron to the free throw line to have him just hoist 3-pointers and brick when his legs are gone. He is probably, he's the best facilitator on the floor, even a little better than Draymond. I would get him at the free throw line, pass the ball over the top for the Warriors, have him square his shoulders, look for AD for lobs or look for wings for open jump shots, or he can negotiate the rim himself looking at the Warriors defense. But it plays into the Warriors' advantage for him to stand on the perimeter and just kind of stand there. You just take jump shots. Get him at the free throw line. If you're the Lakers, now what you have to do from the Warriors' perspective, you got to be physical in the middle, just like a hockey player around the net. Anybody comes around that goal, you got to make sure that player feels you. Until the referee kind of dictates the action. But you can't allow him to get that spot. And if I'm the offensive player, that's the one that I want to get.
I was not expecting the hockey reference, Frank. I love it. And getting back to what the Lakers adjustments, one thing I might do is I might take Vanderbilt. I might reduce his minutes, especially because how the Lakers were playing Steph Curry, essentially trapping him and putting two guys out at him. That kind of nullifies Vanderbilt's strength. Off ball, he can chase well. He's got the length to contest. But if you're going to play this trapping style defense on Curry, I might want another shooter out there to do that. Someone who can stretch the floor. I think Malik Beasley, I guess he's been out of the rotation. I know he was a trade deadline acquisition who I thought could help the Lakers.
And supposedly the Lakers fans are pissed about it. That's what I've heard. I did a crossover show with the Locked On Lakers people and hosts, and that's what they said. We were having
what? You're going behind enemy lines, talking to their.
It's a policy. It's a tradition of Locked On where the hosts of the teams do a crossover one show together. But all the fans are livid at Darvin Ham. Apparently, they're like, "You got Malik Beasley. Why is he rotting away there, man?" We're not the only ones that complain about our coaches. It's a common.
And what's interesting about that side is that from a basketball standpoint, you would think you'd want another shooter. I really think Lonnie is going to end up getting the call because he plays with more energy and he's an attacker. He'll use a pull-up. He'll take a deep ball every now and then. They're going to want another guy energy-wise because, like you said, Bay Area baller, if you're going to trap Steph out of pick and roll, not coming off screens, hedging off screens, but you're going to attack off pick and roll, you don't need to waste Vanderbilt for that because then you're losing something on the offensive side because he's not a facilitator and he's not really a shooter. So I think what they're going to do is if the Warriors are going to give him a heavy dose of pick and roll, they'll sacrifice the guy's defense so that they can get another guy who can look at scoring because they know Hachimura is going to end up with a negative plus minus. He's just not a good enough defender. He doesn't move up and down the floor quick enough. He can get beat in transition easy. So it's going to be very interesting to watch game 3. I said it on night 1. I'll say it again. I believe the Warriors are going to win game 2 and game 3, and that's going to be a decision for the Lakers. Do they really want to push to try to get to the next level, or do they not think they can beat this team and they end up giving up 2 games in LA?
That's interesting. Wow. Nick J says, Dan, can you teach Baller and Rye how to bend their goddamn bills on their hat?
Come on, gentlemen. Come on.
This has an O'Donnell foil autograph on it. So this bill, I don't want to manipulate it. The autograph, it's like a decade old. It's kind of fading a little bit. So I'm not trying. No, this thing's flat. I wanted it nice and straight so I get a nice signature from one of the centers I grew up watching post Eric Dampier. And that's O'Donnell foil. And while I'm talking, I wanted to throw out something to the crew because obviously this game is going to. It's not the Staples Center anymore. What is it now?
Crypto.
It's going to crypto.
Safari hat.
Crypto porn.
What I wanted to say is
a sharp hat. It's a very nice hat.
Curry notoriously does not shoot the ball well.
I was going to bring that up.
And I'm hoping for the reverse jinx here. And I was trying to Google some little statistics right here. But this is as of 2021. And this was at the Staples Center. As of 2021, he was averaging 20 points per game in the Staples Center, shooting 41% from the field, 31% from 3, and that's in the Staples Center against the Lakers. Let me see.
Yeah, he does fine with the Clippers, but not against the Lakers.
Against the Lakers. So
maybe it's the lighting because the lighting is different in the background. It's a definite. The lighting is darker. The Lakers have the court kind of in the light, and everything else is dark. Almost like
Larry.
It's almost like it's like you're going to a play or something.
That's Madison Square Garden.
Oh, really? That's I mean, it looks cool. I'd rather the Lakers thing looks cooler than the Clipper thing for sure. The lighting. Let me ask you guys this. You know how people will say, well, it was a loss, but it was a good loss because of X, Y, and Z. Is tonight the opposite? Is tonight a bad win? And I bring that up because Brian Iglesias brings up a great point here in the chat. It's not a super chat, but I'll read it anyway. He says, Brian Iglesias, he says, a major question heading into games 3 and 4 is can the Warriors win on the road this series if Jordan Poole has a mediocre or bad shooting game?
If he doesn't play
the Warriors got the win today, but I kind of agree with him that they're going to need Jordan Poole to be kind of Jordan Poole to get some of these wins on the road, whether it be this round or the next round. What do you think? I mean, they got the win tonight, but they didn't get Jordan Poole going. Why would it be, how important is it to get Jordan Poole going to the Warriors' chances of winning the series? Go ahead.
They need him for one win in LA. One.
I mean, if he's playing good basketball, then the Warriors are a better team. But if the Warriors go to a more traditional offense where Steph Curry has the ball in his hands and he's initiating great shots for some of the others, if you will, then it's not as big a deal because less is actually more because he's the worst defensive player on the team. I want to see him play well, but I want to see him play well defensively and not turn it over. He could not make a shot, and it wouldn't bother me at all as long as they're good shots. What I don't want to see is Hachimura going back door on him when he first get into the game. That was absolutely horrible.
Yes.
Or going to the basket, kind of giving the defender like a shoulder plunge and not concentrating on layups.
I tweeted out that sequence, Frank.
And looking at the referees for a foul. So there's so many aspects of basketball that he can excel at beyond shooting. When he's shooting, he's exceptional. But the other aspects of the game is where I want to see him really excel.
You know, one of the things I was going to go back to when you were talking about adjustments, what can the Lakers do? I think, you know, sometimes an adjustment will work for obviously just one game, and you want to just get that one game. I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen a lot of teams do this in the playoffs against the Warriors and Curry, go to a box and one. Could we see where they pick up Curry man on man, then, you know, go zone the other four guys and kind of make, you know, Curry get rid of the ball to guys that maybe are not, you know, in position to be able to shoot as, you know, wide open shot. I would not be surprised to see them pull out a box and one at some point in game 3.
Forcing the ball out of Curry's hands is wise. I'm sorry, Carl, but I was just going to say, based on what I saw in the first round and based on how many how challenged Golden State is to find complementary scorers around Steph, I think forcing the ball out of his hands is probably the most sound plan. Carl, jump in. What do you got?
The challenge with the box and one on the Warriors, and you saw it in the Sacramento series. Yes, you get the ball out of his hands, but you make it really easy for the Loonies, the Draymonds, the GP2s to set screens for other shooters. And you don't want to end up having Clay doing target practice at Great America. You don't want to end up having a guy like DiVincenzo having a night where he goes 5 for 7 instead of 3 for 8 or something. So you don't want to overextend so much on tape, because Steph's going to have 20 points no matter what. One of these games in LA, I got a feeling he's going to end up with 40, because he's going to want to have a great game, helping to get them that big road win that gets them over the hump. So, and if you're Darvin Ham, you know it's coming. We're not going to bottle this guy up and he's going to be averaging 21, 22. He's too great of a player. So you don't want to overextend it. You got to find a way that they can unlock. How can they get more easy baskets and live at the foul line? That's really, if we're honest, that's the thing they got to do. If they shoot 17 free throws the rest of this series, the Warriors will win the next 3 games.
I thought Steve Kerr was awesome in recognizing that Jordan Poole is in a lot of instances. And look, when it comes to
what are you complimenting Kerr now?
Because I'm going to compliment people if they do the right things.
I need more consistency out of my locked on. I feel like sometimes we're locked on, sometimes we're locked out.
Look, Steve Kerr, if he's doing the right things, I'm going to give him his due, man. He did the right things tonight. He played Jermichael Green. He played Moses Moody. He took Jordan Poole out and limited him to 15 minutes. Those are exactly the right things you have to do. Look, Dante DiVincenzo's the backup point guard, so he's going to get his minutes no matter what. Gary Payne II can't fill that role, so he's basically played out. I thought, in my opinion, as long as the Warriors keep doing what they did tonight, this series is a wrap, 5 or 6. I'm so pleased with these rotations we saw tonight. You need at least one big besides Draymond and Kevon Looney playing significant minutes. And the fact that we saw that from Jermichael made me happy, man. And
you are such a Kerr suck up. I'm seriously, you are. Anything Kerr does, you disagree with. I mean, come on. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of Kerr lapdogs on this show. Have an independent thought, for crying out loud. Just Kerr this. Kerr's right. I like his rotations. I would do this. I don't like Kuminga anymore. Kerr knows best. Kerr's got rings. I mean, what the hell? Let's be independent.
Get the donut guy on here.
I love it.
It's good to mix it up, Cy. I seriously, because if somebody saw you the other night, they're like, "Whoa, did Kerr get him? Did Cy do an interview in pregame with Kerr, and everything's copacetic?" No, but Cy's an honest man, and he's fair. He's fair-minded. So he's going to call it like he sees it.
He's playing 40 chess too. You got to compliment him, or else when you bring down the hammer doesn't mean as much if you're always bringing down the hammer. So right now he's just loading, he's cocking the hammer. Yeah.
That's true, man. That's true.
Hey, Jermichael Green, does he start in game 3?
Hope so.
Yes,
Hope so.
I think so.
Who's starting him? Danny, you're starting him? Or is your brother starting him?
I would start him. I mean, it worked. Kerr usually, I think somebody said it. Maybe it was Cy. When he makes an adjustment, it works. He stays with it until it stops working.
It's true. He's not an in-game adjuster.
What,
He's like,
what if he's not sick on Saturday?
Yeah, what if Looney's not sick? What if Looney goes AWOL because he's pissed at Kerr for not playing him after, or what if he goes to the what if he goes to the
you saw me out there.
what if he goes to the tier 1 media that doesn't include Locked On and says, "Hey, you know what? I wasn't sick, and he made that crap up, and I'm pissed." that would be awesome.
Did you hear
That would be awesome.
Jalen Rose before the game, and he was making a great point, man, because for an OCD person like me who hates germs and all that, like I was thinking about this too. Jalen Rose was pointing out, like, if Kevon Looney's sick, is it smart to just keep him around and still play him when he can infect the entire team? And I was thinking about that too. I'm like, is that
Maybe
smart?
that's why they kept Stephen so long at the end. They're just like,
Did Kevon go to with the Giants down to Mexico?
Look at
But we don't know
Danny.
what kind of sickness
That's
it is.
just
Like, is
wrong.
it a virus,
I'm muting Danny.
spread?
I'm muting
Is it
Danny
is
for
it a stomach
Danny's
bug?
got to take a minute in the penalty box for that one. The working in the Giants and Kapler and the whole
I'm
deal.
just hoping he ate something bad, and that's what was the illness, like, because that would make sense, right? Like,
There you go. Let's wish that upon him. I hope you ate something bad. Is there okay? Let me ask you this: is there a chance Looney wasn't sick and it's all a bunch of crap, and he's just going along?
This
No?
level chance, I'd say.
Okay.
Small chance. You
Did
never know.
people suggest that in the Locked On community?
No,
Were
you're
there-
the first, man. You're an innovator.
Really? Okay. I'm just thinking outside the box.
You are.
I mean, because think about it. I mean, there aren't that many options to make your moves and to make your adjustments. And Looney's a total team guy. He would literally do anything, in my mind, to help the team win. And if Kerr felt like, hey, you know what, for this game, we need to play Jermichael Finley. What if he said, you know what, I got a little bit of a tummy ache. He said, you know what, let's go with it. Let's go with it.
Coming back.
Let's lean into it. Let's lean into it. Let's go with Jermichael. We'll go with the tummy ache. You're fine, right? Yeah, I'm fine. Can you play? Yeah, I can play. Great. But, you're not going to play very much. We'll go with Jermichael. I mean, there aren't that many options.
I want to see if they can play Jermichael Finley again in Game 3.
Jermichael Finley. Yeah, Jermichael Green.
I learned tonight they call him J Mike. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That was new.
Really?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. But I will say this. I love the fact that Green sets him up so well.
Yeah.
Draymond Green.
brothers.
And Jermichael said something interesting in the postgame too. He said Steph's speech that he gave last week that I think was Marcus Thompson who reported on that, where he supposedly called out Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga. Jermichael Green said that resonated very strongly with him. He took it to heart, and it completely changed his attitude for the rest of the postseason. So kudos to Stephen Curry. Great leadership, brother.
Yeah, I mean, Steph has this, this gullible, gregarious type exterior, but anybody who watches this guy knows that he's a stone cold killer.
Yes.
Figuratively speaking. He's as tough as anybody who's ever played the game.
Yep.
And I'm gonna just say this. I don't have to use details, but not many players could deal with the strife that he dealt with his family situation and still go on the court and dominate the way that he did. That was
With his
tough.
parents divorcing and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And then being
Publicly.
swingers. And I mean, by the way, that is never discussed enough, that his parents basically became swingers publicly. And they're on the court with their like swap partners. That was weird to me, man. No one ever wants to talk about that, but that's the kind of stuff I like to talk about sometimes because it's so unusual.
By the way, that reminds me, whatever happened with the Celtics coach? Is there any info on Udoka?
They call it an HR situation, so they don't really feel much. But
I heard it might
Did he get a new gig?
yeah, Rockets head coach.
Rockets.
Why don't
Yeah,
you
I
try
thought
to
I heard
get
that.
everybody? Why don't you try to get Steph and Dell and Sonia together on Locked On and see if you can bring everybody back? Stop trying to just do a post game show and get something done on that show. Get something done on that show. Get Dell and Sonia back. Come on, let's put this thing back together. No, but it is amazing because I mean you're talking about a very public situation, and they're both there, and you know how that works. I mean,
And
we don't
their
have to.
partners were married themselves. Like that was just the whole thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that,
Yeah,
but I
that's
mean,
what I meant. Like Del Curry, the woman he was with at the NBA Finals, and they're like on the court together, acting like everything's perfectly normal. And then Sonya's with the husband of that woman, and so they're kind of like swapping. I don't know what's going on there. It's weird, but fascinating.
yeah, it's a competitive situation. It sounds like, but I mean, for Steph to be able to block that out. I mean, because the one thing that's universal, it doesn't matter if you're famous or if you're not, that there's probably, hey, he's getting one side from somebody, he's getting the other side from the other person, you know what I mean? And I'm sure and he's probably, even if he doesn't want to be, he's probably caught in the middle on that. And it can't, let's just say this, it can't make his game better. It can't be a good thing. It can only be a distraction. And yet this guy's playing at such an incredible level. Let me ask you guys this about Steph Curry before we move on to a different topic. Is Steph Curry in the career arc? Is he still climbing the mountain? Is he has he crested the hill, or is he on the backside of the hill? Where is he? Because to me, I don't see anything that makes me think that he's crested the hill, but his age tells me there's no way he could be getting better. But you know what? I'll say it to about Steve Young, and I've talked to Steve about this before. Steve Young played the best football of his career, very, very close to Aeneas. Was it Aeneas Williams that knocked him out? I forget who it was.
38. It was 38 when that happened. Yeah.
Lawrence Phillips blew that block. Yeah, he was 38. He was playing. That was 99. He played at his highest level, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. We're talking about a 5-year run from 94 to when he finished, really the best ball of his career, easily. The best he ever was the back end of his career. Are we getting the same thing with Steph Curry, where is Steph better this year than he was last year? Is he still getting better, or has he crested the hill? Where are you guys with Steph?
I have a comment on that because Steve knows his assistant coach was very close with Brandon Payne, Steph's trainer. And Brandon Payne says, Steph is a late bloomer. He's got a young body. And he feels that Steph is actually getting better. And Steph sat in my brother's office for quite a while, a couple years ago, and Steve told him, hey, he says, you're a late bloomer. And Steph says, yeah, he knows. So I think Steph is ascending still because of his body type and the way he's conditioned it. The guy's just a freak training. Steve's watched his training regimen at times. It's Luka Doncic was training with him and couldn't keep up a couple years ago in the Bay Area. He's just like couldn't keep up at all. And so Steph takes his body very seriously, his craft. I think he can play till he's 40.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting better. I think he's maintained a really, really, really high level of play. I also think the fact that he's played with one organization for his entire career has helped. He knows that offense front and back. He's very confident. He also has, his brothers. People say, oh, yeah, that's my brother. They don't act like brothers. He has guys on that team that will do anything for him. Mm-hmm. Draymond Green, you watch Draymond get him open. You watch Draymond look for him. So that's why he loves Draymond, because Draymond is an integral part in Stephen Curry's success and has helped him really maintain this elite level. So I think he's elite. I think if he had Superman's heart, yeah, he could probably get better. But your heart really dictates your ascension. And his heart, like every other 35-year-old, at some point, it's going to start to level off or start to become less efficient. It's just the fact that he's so mentally superior to most that he's able to maintain this high level of play. So that's what I see from him.
95.7, Brian. You
I'm
agree with
I
Frank?
think he's at the top. He was ascending up until 2015, where he reached the top, and now he's just maintained that level of play. So it's been like 8 years of just peak.
I
Steph
disagree with
Curry
you about
basketball.
15, though, Eric, because I think he's gotten better since 15. His body's changed. He was getting pushed around in 2015, 2016. And when he started really bulking up, he's been able to take a lot of body blows, set some great screens, get in
I also
there.
think there's in his youthful days, there might be some things that he could do.
I
That
don't
he
know if he's getting
doesn't
better,
quite
but
do on the
I
same
do think
level.
he's
His
he's
game has
maintaining.
changed a little bit. He's
Yeah.
tweaked his game a little bit over there.
I
But
feel like
he's maintaining
Dan.
his peak.
I feel like Dan has crested the hill. He was better.
Definitely
I mean,
on the way down.
I felt like Danny was really peaked in March, and here we are in May, and it's just not the same.
Hey man, I was moving yesterday. I'll tell you a story. I'm carrying. I got this little trolley, and I got a little lip in my garage right there on the concrete. I thought,
wait, what do you
stupid
get?
me.
Wait, you want like this? And you said you got a little what?
There's a lip in the concrete.
Oh, you got a little lip. Okay, go ahead.
And I pushed the trolley. I had something heavy on it, so I'm gonna ram this thing straight over. And I should have just lifted it and pushed it.
Oh, look
but
at
I
you! You're
rammed
so
it,
macho.
and it hit the thing, and I went flying forward.
Oh.
The back end came up right into my shin. I got a
That's the
freaking
worst.
bruise on my shin. It's a big knot. I got another on the other
Did you go to
leg.
urgent? Did you go to urgent care at the 55 and over community at all?
No, I just looked. I would have been cursing like crazy, but it was late, and I was just like,
Good thing in Arizona there's nothing but drive-through drugstores everywhere. You probably right.
I was just like, it's happened like all week. I'm banged up. I'm definitely on the downside.
Seriously, Danny was strong in March. He hasn't been the same since March. Brian Iglesias says, I completely agree with Carl. If LA goes with a box and one, then Clay, DiVincenzo, Jermichael Green, and Moody and Poole will make them pay when they have wide open three-point attempts.
Thank you,
Brian Iglesias says this will be forever known as the Looney Flu game. 8 rebounds in 12 minutes.
Flooney.
By the way, just to
Yes.
touch a little bit on the Steph Curry thing. The thing you have to look at with Steph, particularly over the course of the last 5 years, when he took the physical challenge of, hey, kind of like what Michael Jordan did, what Kobe Bryant did, what all the killers do, when they decide they're tired of people kind of trying to beat them up as a strategy, and hey, I'm going to start dishing out some punishment. One of the things that does is that it extends your greatness, because now you're physically at your best, at your strongest, but you're mentally ascending. That's the part that ascends with Steph. He's adding little tweaks to his game. We know he studies tape. He studies defenders. He's become a master of how to find opportunities when the average person couldn't do that can shoot. He's the only guy I've ever seen who's great at shooting off the dribble, off the move, and off the catch. Most guys are good at 2 of the 3. And the thing that makes him really stand out, though, is his desire to want to extend his greatness is very remnant of Tom Brady and Roger Federer. Guys who just decided, yes, the young bucks are coming, but I'm going to become such a tactician. And if we're honest, of all the players in the NBA who are great, of all the great athletes we know, I don't know if anyone lives a cleaner lifestyle off the court, meaning so focused on community investment, so focused on being compassionate about what others are going through. What he did through the pandemic was ridiculous. I mean, I think his charity served over 16 million meals. I mean, just amazing things. We know his wife's incredible. His kids are not only well-mannered, but you can clearly tell that they live a very balanced life. I think all those things help, because some of the athletes, their personal habits get in the way. And it takes away from them being able to sustain greatness, because they're trying to burn the candle at both ends, and he's clearly not doing that. So I think Steph's going to play into his 40s. I think he's going to be an outstanding player until he gets there. And it'll be very interesting as they continue with this season, if they can make a run at the title. But if they can find a way to keep a roster that keeps him competitive, that fire is going to burn in him like nobody's business.
Give Mario Lemieux some love too, because he played at a high level for a very, very long time. He actually, his franchise was actually in bankrupt. He had to come back out of retirement and play pretty good hockey. Wasn't
Yeah,
hard
but they
at
only
all.
play 2 minutes of time. They get off the ice.
Yeah.
The thing I get really frustrated with is like this conversation happens a lot nationally now. Like, is this the best we've ever seen Steph Curry? And it's like the conversation will go from like, yes, I think that this is the best we've seen of Steph Curry, and yes, I do think he's a top 10 player of all time. And then it's like 30 minutes later, they do the rankings of who's the best player in the league, and it's like Steph Curry's third. So you're telling me that
He's more like fifth or
top 10
sixth.
player of all time is at his peak. But no, he's like the third. He's like, he's behind Jokic.
He's behind Embiid. He's behind Giannis. He's behind. Yeah, they always have him like fifth or sixth.
Also, 2016, I will always believe in my heart of hearts that he was going to run through that freaking playoffs until the knee injury happened. He was ridiculous in that Rockets game. If you remember, he had like 17 in the first quarter, and he just looked like him, and he was never fully back. I actually think he might have been on something.
Dusty Gold just wants us to know that Dan said ramming it. There you go.
I like the STD conspiracy about.
I had to let that one go. I just a little too hot. Maybe I'll save that for Locked On. This is just a little. Really? Oh, okay. You smoke your drugs over here. All right, come on.
Of course,
I got you. I got you.
Like, I'm not getting. I don't have an employer on this show. Of course.
What? Yes. You work for us, damn it. Okay. Okay. Somebody left a private chat. No, it was Red from earlier. What is the one thing I want to? One of the chats I wanted to get to here, I thought was really good. Oh yeah, here we go. Al Felipe says Charles Barkley's analysis blows. Charles Barkley is a phenomenal entertainer, and obviously he knows basketball, and he's the most well compensated basketball analyst in the country.
Yep.
But we all have differing tastes and opinions, and people are people, and there's all kinds of great basketball guests. And I'm kind of wondering if tomorrow you guys had your own national show and you're going to talk about Warriors Lakers, and you can have anybody you want coming on as a guest.
Oh.
Who do you want to have? Who do you guys think? I mean, Barkley, we know, has the cachet. He's got the platform. He's Sir Charles. He's the round mound of rebound. He's I'm not going to raise your kids. I mean, he's polarizing. He's smart. He's funny. He's wildly entertaining. Nobody's going to take anything away from him. But it doesn't mean that he's the best analyst at this point. Heck, we had Tim Legler on the other day. I think Legs might be my guy.
Did you really on the game?
Yeah, we had Legler on, and then
I was going to go with. He's the
and
best.
then I'll tell you another guy that I think's phenomenal is, well, first of all, I think the guys we have here are phenomenal, but like John Barry, the former Warrior, John Barry is phenomenal. Brent Barry is an incredible guest. He may not be great on pro basketball, but I'll tell you who I love talking college basketball. Is Steve Lapis, and another guy that I love is Casey Jacobson, the former Stanford, two guard who had limitless range with the Suns. Just a couple of my favorites. I'm just kind of wondering, can we go around the room here? You can have anybody on your show analyzing basketball. I mean, George Karl is phenomenal. He's very, very honest. He's very, very candid. He'll rip anybody at any time. I like guys like that. I'll always want to listen to guys like that. I think Grant Napier, is one of my favorites because if you don't like that, no, but I mean, Grant gives you his strong opinion, and he's like a New York guy, doesn't hold back. So who do you guys, if you can have one guy, one analyst outside, anybody in the country, radio, television, anybody. PJ Carlissimo is a tremendous analyst. I love having PJ on. What about you guys? Who do you like?
I can't believe you.
I mean, you do this all the time, right? So you book guys all the time.
I think Legler is one of the brightest basketball minds. Like I never hear an opinion from him and go, I don't agree with that, or that doesn't make sense, or he's just full of shit. No, he knows his stuff, and I respect him a lot. I want to quickly let Damian McCurry know because he mentioned Rick Barry. Rick Barry has his own podcast. Subscribe to that, The Rick Barry Show, Rick Barry's House on YouTube. Here's who I would love. I would love to bring Bill Simmons on.
Yes.
For the simple reason that he slandered Rick Barry and just got away with it. And he refuses to.
What did he say?
He said that Rick Barry, and this is a total lie that's perpetuated repeatedly, that Rick Barry, the lie is that in the 1976 Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns, the Warriors were going for a repeat world championship, and Rick Barry got into a fight early in that game. And the story goes, his teammates didn't come to his defense, and Rick got so upset about that he just decided to stop shooting the ball, and he gave up in the second half of that game. And it's a total bullshit story. Even if you look at the YouTube videos, it doesn't look like that. His teammates are right there getting involved in the mix. Rick himself has said repeatedly, no, I held back from shooting in that game to try to get my teammates involved because we were all struggling. But the play-by-play broadcaster for the Phoenix Suns, who's still around, is Hal McCoy.
Al McCoy.
Who's like
Last
almost
year.
90, right? Or maybe he's over 90.
He's retiring this year.
Yeah, he retired this
Oh,
year.
retired. Okay, so Hal McCoy is the one who perpetuated that lie. He claims that Rick Barry just gave up on his team and wouldn't shoot the ball as a pouting response to his teammates not defending him in the fight. It's a bullshit story. But Bill Simmons in his book wrote it like it's fucking fact just because Hal McCoy said it. And Rick has repeatedly said,
it's Al McCoy, right?
Al McCoy, sorry.
Al.
Yeah.
And he repeatedly said, Al, that's not true. That is not a true story. Bill will not bring him on his shows, never once interviewed him about it, just ran with this fucking thing like it's a fact. So I'd like to get Bill on there and be like, dude, fucking own up to slandering one of the greatest players ever. Why are you such a pussy and you won't bring him on your show? Sorry for using that language, but bring him on your show.
This is
man.
also a family show, Locked On.
I apologize.
All right,
I
easy.
apologize for that. That was crass.
It's kind of a screwed up family, but it's a family show.
But it's a really messed up action on Bill Simmons' part, man. Bring Rick on your show, clear the damn air. I guess on another time, he also called Rick Barry an asshole on his podcast. He's never met Rick once. So if you're gonna have that strong of an opinion about someone, at least get to know them yourself instead of hiding and just talking shit about them. So that's what I'd like to do.
I agree with this one. Tommy T. Tommy T is one of my favorites on basketball because he knows it cold, played collegiately, played professionally. I think Tommy's analysis is phenomenal. I love Tommy and Tim. To me, that's worth turning down the television and watching, listening on the radio, even if it doesn't align perfectly. I'll take Tom and Tim. I think Tom makes Tim better. I think Tim makes Tom better. What about the rest of you guys? Is there an analyst or somebody that you guys really love? We're getting a bunch of different ones. People are saying Michael Wilbon. Somebody said Nick Wright was on with Damon. A lot of people can't stand.
He's awful.
Yeah, I'm not a Nick Wright guy.
I
Gary Radnich.
I
We got
actually
Max
enjoy Nick
Kellerman.
Wright a little bit now because I'm just like, well, you know what? It's just a shtick. It's all right.
Who do you say, Rob?
My guy for pure basketball is the breakdown of things that you don't see all the time that he picks up on is Tim Legler. The other night, he showed that Poole shot. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he said the reason that Poole ended up taking that shot was the guys, he showed the highlights, the Warriors were slow getting up court. And so they had all these guys in position and had Draymond, and I can't remember who else it was, run up court faster, that there would have been other guys open, and it forced them to go to Poole. And then he still showed that Poole could have, and the way the pass came to Poole was not a great pass. He kind of caught it back and not in a forward position.
Back into the left.
Yes, where he could have, it was a forced shot. He had, because it was not a natural shot, he said, because he didn't have his legs into it. So he said he could have, but the way he showed, with the arrows and everything, it was like had the Warriors ran up fast, there would have been a couple of guys open on the wings. But the only guy open was Poole, because when they passed it to Poole, Draymond and someone else were still in the backcourt. And so points things out that you don't, most analysts don't always, break down. He kind of reminds me of a football version of Greg Cosell.
And let me say this. If you're talking pure basketball and analysis, Tim Legler is as good as it gets, particularly to be on a national show.
Mhm.
We know there's some other names and some other voices that, from a personality standpoint, sometimes get out there. The other thing I look for, because I'm really looking for not only what's easy for a fan to see, but what people who aren't necessarily fans because they're in the business, what they see. And in that respect, you have to respect Jalen Rose, because Jalen gets into some of the psychology, gets into some of the dynamics that don't get talked about, the things that are below the surface. Because as a former player who's pretty current and who stays in relationship with other players, he's able to dig into that. And you see that a lot in football because guys get into the broadcast booth pretty early. They feel a little looser to be able to go back into the locker room and talk to guys in a straightforward fashion. And although they don't do it in the most entertaining way, for me, you have to give Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson credit because they get guys to talk about the things that they won't talk about on mainstream media.
They're good. They're very good.
That's a part of that insider piece that you really want to hear about.
What about Richard Jefferson? He impresses me. I don't know about you guys, but
I hate Richard Jefferson.
You hate him?
Why do you hate him? Why do you hate him?
Mostly because I feel like he's always hating on the Warriors, to be honest.
I don't feel that at all. But
now.
I'm not a Richard Jefferson guy either.
I feel like
Richard's more entertainer than analyst. Richard clearly is trying to fit into a different box. He wants to maybe move on to some other things. What's the guy's name? He was a wide receiver for the Vikings, who's now on CBS.
Chris Carter?
No.
He's talking about Burleson. Nate Burleson.
Okay.
I think Richard's more interested in that part of the broadcasting business because he's clearly more entertainment oriented. We know he knows the game, and it's just stick about what he's doing about the Warriors because he respects them greatly. Remember, he played for him.
Yeah.
But
I got a name for you.
I know.
What do you got, Frank?
Rich Kamler.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that dude.
Kamla. Yeah.
Yo, listen. Rich Kamler is, he comes across like since the age of 7, he's been sleeping with a basketball. That dude loves basketball. And I love his passion. Now, in terms of just like analytical, Jim Barnett, he's local, but he's one of the best ever. I learned so much about basketball. And Rick Barry also. Rick Barry is brilliant. He's a brilliant basketball mind. Burke, who's on ESPN.
Who?
Female.
Doris Burke.
Doris is good. A lot of folks don't know. Doris was an All-American player. She was really good. And, she's moved on to different pastors, but Carol Lawson was as good as anybody when she was doing NBA. So
I'm a big
young
fan.
Lady with the Nets.
She's really good.
Incredible. She played at I think.
Kustov. Sarah Kustov.
Oh
she's
my
really
God.
Good too.
She's
really
ridiculous. Good. She's ridiculously analytical. She really knows the game. She's got good swag. Yep. And you can tell when broadcasters get the respect of players because you can hear it in the kind of insightful answers they'll provide.
I'm gonna cheat for my answer.
Go ahead, Rye. Who do you got?
It's a little loophole right here. Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're going new media. You're going to new media.
Draymond's great.
He's technically TNT. Remember TNT?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I've interviewed a bunch of times who I really think's damn good is Clark Kellogg.
Oh man.
Clark Kellogg.
Awesome.
Clark Kellogg is and it's not just on college. Clark Kellogg just knows ball and he's really smart and he can spit it out and it all makes sense. And even like he's sitting in the studio with Charles and Kenny and some of those guys are like, Kenny's probably giving opinions on college hoop teams he's watched like 3 times all year. Clark makes it all work. Somehow it's like he doesn't step on those guys' toes, but he still gets the stuff out there. I think he's really, really good.
He's a
Bobby Marks is one of my favorites too because I love hearing, when the season ends, the season's going to end in a month, and the draft's around the corner. Man, I want Bobby Marks on. I want Bobby Marks on because Bobby Marks is going to do the work and he's going to be able to tell you, like what's a good deal, what's not a good deal. And I really like him a lot. I like Jay Billis on the draft a lot. I think Jay Billis, he does say, you do have to drink every time he says wingspan and that kind of thing. But Jay Billis is really, really good. And then, there aren't too many guys who are good on college and pros, but Jay's pretty good. Jay's outstanding.
And if you ever want a guest who is absolutely brilliant when it comes to mock drafts, NBA drafts, Kristen Peak of Yahoo Sports, totally under the radar, but she nails it every time. Like I come, and I've admitted this to her. I'm like, I pick your brain for any of my college opinions because you never miss. So I bring her on during the off season and definitely recommend checking her out because she knows her stuff.
Rashad Phillips is really good with the draft stuff too.
Who's really great with the draft stuff is Ryan Russillo. I don't know if you've ever heard Ryan Russillo.
Ryan's good.
Ryan's really, really good. And
down here in the Phoenix market.
Oh, is he?
If you're going to do draft,
I don't know if he still is.
If you're going to do
draft, Chris Babcock's pretty good too.
Hey, don't forget, Larry. We did a pretty good draft show together.
Don't forget Carl Foster and Larry Krueger sitting on the patio of the practice facility. We were the first people who ever spoke to Andres Biedrins or Mikel. Was it Biedrins and Petrus, I believe?
And Petrus.
Yeah.
Wow.
French Michael Jordan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did you guys see the came out a couple weeks ago in the Athletic, but they republish it out now and then. The NBA Players Anonymous NBA player.
Yeah.
The survey.
Yeah, where they put all the different who's the worst this, who's the best this. It's kind of interesting. But the one thing that's interesting, who will win the NBA championship? The players had the Bucks, and then I can't remember. I'm looking for it. The Warriors were third though, and so the players kind of they must think they didn't have the Lakers mentioned, but I think they were higher. The Warriors were higher than Denver.
Yeah,
really?
They were coming into the Lakers series. They had the second best odds to win the championship.
Well, because they are the hardest team to prepare for.
Because it's chaos,
their
controlled chaos.
Style of coordinated random chaos is just literally it'll drive you nuts. And then when you add to the fact that Kerr and his staff can make adjustments and find a slightly different way to create an equal amount of chaos with a slightly different group on the floor. I mean, that's just brilliant.
Know what you're thinking about, Foster? I mean, a lot of folks don't want to say it because they internalize this statement. The Warriors are the most intelligent basketball team in the NBA from a coaching perspective and a player perspective. I mean, how many players? I mean, Rye, you said Draymond. How many players do you think can play a atrocious game one and still have the wherewithal to do a post-game show and attack himself first? I mean, they got really, really. I mean, I would love, to be the 16th man on that team. I mean, just to soak up the basketball knowledge. I got a lot of basketball knowledge, and that's why it's so attractive to me. But they are the smartest team. Kerr out of timeouts. I don't care what the situation is. Kerr out of timeouts. He's flawless, man. They always get a good shot. They don't always make it, but they always get a really good shot. They're just a well-oiled machine. And you look at Lacob at the top. Lacob doesn't have to say a word. His level of commitment resonates from the top down to everybody, and that's why they always have a chance to win the championship.
Mm-hmm. When they come out of a timeout, have you noticed they almost always make the one extra pass and get an absolute bunny or dunk or just wide open look? I'll tell you, the only guy that I ever thought was better than Kerr at this, and I was amazed, and I've talked to him about it, and I'm like, it's amazing. Mike freaking Montgomery. When he was with the Warriors, anytime he called an inbounds play, freaking uncontested layup. I mean, it was unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. Mike Montgomery is just a really, really, really smart X's and O's, half-court design guy, and he can get you a bucket off an inbounds based on his design. better than almost anybody I can remember. I mean, it was amazing to watch when he was here with the Warriors. Those were not good Warrior teams, and almost every inbounds pass, layup. And I asked him about it, and Monty's pretty. He's not the kind of guy that's going to be like, yeah, damn straight, I'm awesome. He's just not that kind of a guy. He's like very humble, and he's just a very aw shucks kind of a guy. But he knew I was right. I'm like, Mike, you can design an out of bounds play. And he's like, well, been around the block a few times, and done this a few times. I mean, seriously. I mean, it was impressive to watch. All right, one question I got to ask you guys, and I've been wanting to ask you. We saw the Warriors they didn't go. We talked about it last game. Would they go small? Would they go big? Could they go small and run the Lakers off the floor? Could they go big and try to contend with the Lakers' size and bother Anthony Davis? And then in between game 1 and 2, you heard a lot of, we're going to muck things up. We're going to get more physical with Anthony Davis. Did they get more physical with Anthony Davis? And what's the plan the rest of the series? Do you want to see the Warriors? Are they better off going big, or do you say put some small athletes out there, and especially as the series progresses, and AD's got bad wheels, and LeBron's got a bad knee and bad foot, and probably pretty sore. Run these guys off the floor with smalls, or try to match up with them with bigs? How does Kerr play it? How would you guys play it?
I want to see more Draymond on Anthony Davis, just like tonight. You didn't see it as much game 1, but coming into the series, one of the things I brought up was like Draymond Green plays Anthony Davis really well. Just from games previously that I remember, he gives Anthony Davis a really tough time. And tonight, it was more the same. The one time Anthony Davis tried to put it on the deck in front of Draymond, what happened? Poked it away, turnover. So Anthony Davis really felt like he had to settle for a bunch of mid-range jump shots.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I want to see continue. Looney, if he's feeling better, bring him in some spurts. But majority of time, I want Draymond Green, former Defensive Player of the Year, manned up on Anthony Davis.
What do you guys think? I mean, they could do it either way. I mean, and maybe it's a combination of you go small at times, you go big at times. What do you think's the better game plan going forward here? Because not only we have to guess what the Lakers' counter is, we got to wonder what the Warriors' counter is to the Lakers' counter. What will Kerr go with?
I think the thing that you're going to find is that tonight's recipe is the recipe that works for the rest of this series. As I said, and I heard Frank say it as well, and I think Cy even echoed the exact same thing. The Lakers don't have the personnel for tremendous versatility. LeBron enjoys playing basketball a certain type of way, and he's really good at knowing how to manipulate the game based on the structure that is really good for him. AD is good in the low post, pretty good in the mid post, not as effective when he's 17 feet away. He doesn't like to be pressured under his body, which is what Bay Area Baller is talking about, taking away space, forcing him out, making him turn his back. So the Warriors have enough versatile pieces. Last time people were saying, well, they've only got offensive players or defensive players. No, they've got guys that can do different things, but it's the combinations that they can play them with. And I think you saw that tonight. I don't think the Lakers have an adjustment for what the Warriors did, but I think they can make a personnel change to try to change the rhythm, change the energy, get guys playing hard at home, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the Warriors shot 50% from 3 tonight, and they took less threes. They took really good trade balls. They navigated pick and roll. They rebounded like hound dogs, and they lived in transition, and the Draymond freight train was wide open. There were no station stops. He was getting straight into the lane area. That's what you're going to see. The only question will be, do they have another night where their shots don't fall? And if that happens, the Lakers maybe could get a win. If not, the Warriors could easily win 3 games in a row.
Yeah, Carl, you said about the change. To me, it's very similar to Game 4, 2015, when Nick Urenz said, "Put in Andre against the Cavs and in place of Bogut." You may have, Jermichael Green in this situation in place of Kevon Looney. Doesn't mean Looney doesn't play, but it may be that they go with this type of lineup because it forces AD from just camping out under there and blocking shots and grabbing every missed shot.
It's a make or miss league. I mean, for the Warriors to be successful, they have to make shots. I mean, no team should shoot 50% from the 3-point line. So if I'm Darvin Ham, I'm going back to my guy and said, fellas, this is unacceptable. All right. So I expect them to put more pressure on the Warriors from a perimeter perspective. Also, they're going to be more physical also.
Yeah.
And the thing about Draymond Green exclusively guarding AD, I don't like it without implementing zone like they played before, because let's face it, the referees are going to play a role in the outcome also. They have the ability to call fouls or not call fouls. The one thing that they can't do is they can't shoot. So if the Warriors are down there and they're on fire, they're going to put the Lakers on their heels. But it's kind of a wait and see, play the thing out defensively to see how the tenor of the game is being refereed. Because they could get Draymond up out of there if they call 2 quick fouls on him, and then the game is totally different.
Yeah. I hope the Warriors. I hope we don't see small ball again this series. The rest of the postseason. Like we didn't see small ball tonight in the sense that like this weird lineup Kerr brought out sometimes was like Steph, Poole, DiVincenzo, and Gary Payne II. Like those 4 have been out there together with like a quote unquote big like Looney or Dre. We didn't see that tonight. We saw Andrew Wiggins playing fantastic defense of LeBron James. I don't think that's highlighted enough because that is his assignment for this whole series. And over the last 2 years or so, he's really switched it up. Like LeBron used to own Wiggins. That does not happen anymore. Wiggins holds his own, and he led the team in plus minus with a plus 35 tonight. That is a huge freaking number for a plus minus. So Wiggins, despite not scoring a lot, defensively did wonders, and I think he's going to continue that. And then Draymond Green, I don't think we mentioned this. I just noticed this now that he was 1 assist shy of a triple double. That's crazy, man. So,
hey, we're gonna let some people out here because I know Rye's got to jump and I know Baller's got to jump. But before you guys do, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention this. Mike Budenholzer dumped by the Bucks. Guys, this guy was the NBA Coach of the Year like multiple times. This guy's won 60% of his games in the NBA. They won 58 games this year. They won 51 last year. They were NBA champions in 2021 or 2020, 2021. Mike Budenholzer is considered to be one of the NBA's better coaches from the people that I've talked to.
Well, it's
what do you make of that? I mean, Budenholzer's out. This guy is a very good coach.
It's
very
crazy.
good coach.
I gotta bounce as well just because I'm exhausted, man. I gotta get some sleep.
Yeah,
but
no sweat.
The Budenholzer thing is partly insane, but also partly very sensible in the sense that it gives Milwaukee an out in terms of reconstructing the roster. They had to blame someone, man. A first round exit for a team that was heavily favored to win the championship this year. They were clearly the favorites going into the postseason, and to be bounced in the first round, someone had to go. I don't think it's fair, but they also did want to fire him 2 years ago in the season that they won the title. And I really hope, there's this guy on the Golden State Warriors staff. He's their number 1 assistant coach. He's their defensive coordinator. He's also their analytics guru. His name is Kenny Atkinson. I think he would be an excellent fit on the Milwaukee Bucks, and I hope that's where he goes.
You want him to bring Anthony Lamb with him, don't you? I can already hear it.
Please. Yeah, take both.
Yeah. All right. Hey, anybody who needs to jump right now, we're only going to go another 10 minutes or so more. Cy, I'll let you jump because I know you got a big day ahead of you. Appreciate you. Have a good night, Cy.
Right back at you guys.
There you
go. I was going to ask Cy a question before he left because he might know, but
let me let the people, Danny, who need to get out because there's tomorrow's a work day.
Larry, I can hang for another 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
And
Sounds
then
like- and I-
Baller
I'm
Baller will
hanging.
talk to you soon.
Yeah, and I'm going to get out of here with this because I didn't get to give you guys my basketball analyst that I would love
Yeah,
to
who's your
talk to.
analyst?
Yeah, well, he's a former Dookie. Let's see which guy on the panel is going to pick up on this analyst first, okay? He's a
Is it
newer
me?
guy because he was in the league. He's a newer guy, former Duke product, Krzyzewski up. Carl's
Jay
already
Williams?
doing emotion. Carl's already doing emotion. Yeah, because I loved this shooter out of Duke, Lob City, played for the Magic. I want a name.
JJ
Redick.
Redick.
JJ Redick. I love me some JJ Redick. I fell in love with him in college, watching him at Duke because I had just never
I thought
seen
you were
a
going to go Jay
player.
Billis.
Jay Billis is okay too.
I
And
don't
if
like
I'm
the fact
talking-
that he called out dog and he did it in such a weak way. I there's something that's really weak about JJ Redick. But I mean, I do understand why people would think he's a good analyst because he's a pretty smart guy. But he
Well,
went
you
at
got to tell me this about the dog. I don't
Russo
know
one
about
time.
this.
Oh, he went at Russo one time in this ridiculous way, and trying to. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I
I'm
don't
not
want
a
to get.
Russo guy, to be honest. I know
Yeah.
Dan met him. About
I worked
baseball,
for
but I'm
him.
not a Russo guy. So actually, that makes me like JJ Reddick even
Okay.
more.
It's even better than.
Reddick, I loved
But
him
Larry
as
worked
a
for
player.
the
I
Mad
liked
Dog.
him in the new media. And the last thing I'll leave you with, my draft guy that I absolutely love to listen to come draft time
Chris
was
Monter.
Mike Schmitz.
Oh
Mike
yes.
Schmitz. And
He's
now he
hired
got
now.
the
Very
GM.
good.
Yeah, he got the GM. He's assistant GM, I believe, with the Blazers. But that was my go-to guy because I love, scouting the Euro League and just
Yeah,
kinda
he
seeing
knows his
that's
stuff.
where-
That guy does a lot of curls. Have
Yeah,
you seen that guy?
I gotta get
Seriously,
my
the guy's
curl game up.
freaking got ridiculous biceps going.
When you're on
Um,
TV, it gives you some incentive to get in there. You want to look good, and then you got all these athletes next to you. You don't want to look like no puny, scrawny guy. Like I'm here around Frank. I've been trying to crank out some extra push-ups. That way, I can at least try to look like I'm holding my own with Big Frank. But hey, fellas, I'm gonna jump right here. Oh, go ahead. What's up, Frank?
No, I was saying, man, I mean, I would take your stamina and your endurance every day of the week, man.
Anthony Gonzalez says, "Baller, stay balling." There you go.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, fellas, talk soon.
There you
Good
go.
night.
The
Yeah,
great
brother.
Bay Area
Have a good one.
baller.
Bay Area
Everybody,
Baller.
everybody needs to
All
join
right.
Bay Area
Now-
Baller
now-
18.
Now we got the four, I guess the
Elder
50 and up group here.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to split, but one thing I'd throw out there, just was reading on Andre.
That's it. No, I'm just joking, Danny. Come on
Yeah.
back. I'm just.
Yeah, I was just saying, on Andre Iguodala, they say to be reevaluated that he might be available after Game 3 if his evaluation goes well. He's actually been on a progressive rehab with the wrist, and he's doing basketball duties at this point. That could be an interesting, where he comes in and gives you 10, 12 minutes of defense on LeBron, because we know that what he's done with LeBron. And if they want to switch, that would allow Dre to guard Wiggins, and then you could switch. You could even put Wiggins.
I like Andre. I hear what you're saying, but I would push back against
Can't do any
introducing
offense.
new. Well, no, I'm just I just you're struggling already to kind of get into a flow, and I think the upside's limited. I'd rather Andre just kind of root from the bench than try to introduce him in. I mean, if you had a certain game
But Kerr loves
situation, no, I
Yeah,
know
he-
Kerr loves him, but it's just I'm not saying that my prediction is that Kerr won't bring him in. I'm just saying that if it was up to me, I don't think I would. I think I would. He's played a lot of great ball, but I think that's going to the well one too many times. And where are you guys on Iguodala?
I would have to be 100% sure that physically he could endure playoff caliber basketball. Just because he's healthy is not enough for me to simply put him in. He would have to be tested in practice. I know mentally he can handle it, but I'm like you. I wouldn't be in a rush to put him in. It doesn't mean I wouldn't use him in certain situations, but he would not ascend over the guys who were playing over the past couple of playoff series.
I just if he was more of an offensive player, I'd be more apt to want to put him out there.
I don't want to see him.
But that's the one thing. It's like it's kind of like in football, you need 4 pass rushers on a D line. It's like in basketball, you need 4 of your 5 guys on the floor have to be offensive threats, or you literally have to. You're going to be looking at some funky defenses where guys are sagged into the middle, and suddenly there's no room in the lane. I mean, I think if you wanted to say what was tonight about, what's Jermichael Green about? It's about spacing and creating space. I mean, having a big guy out there, but also having a guy out there that you got to honor at the 3-point line, and then that just creates more room on the floor. And I think, in a lot of ways, Jermichael is ideally suited for exactly what the Warriors needed in this situation. I'm glad that the staff arrived on his him contributing, and I hope that we see that going forward. I want to see the Lakers make their adjustment to it before I'd switch off of it. That's for sure. A couple more thoughts, guys, before we're going to bail at 11:30 tonight, just because I got an early morning. But what do you guys think about the Budenholzer thing? I mean, is it as simple as somebody had to take the fall, or I mean,
3 of the last 4 championship coaches are now out of a job.
Right.
Vogel, Nurse, and Budenholzer. Now, in Budenholzer's case, we can talk about his winning percentage, and I'm not discounting the professionalism of he and his staff, but he's got Giannis Antetokounmpo. When you've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're going to win 600% of your games. When they struggle to make certain types of decisions towards end of games in a first-round series against a team they should have swept Miami. That's how much they were better than Miami. Then not only are they better, but Tyler Hero gets hurt and can't play. And we already know they had other guys who were compromised. For them to lose that series and look embarrassing while they were doing it, new ownership had to make a decision, because they also have to send a message to Giannis that we don't want you to go to LA or to San Francisco or somewhere else. Hey, he could look up and be in Oklahoma, because they're stinking loaded with young talent. So they had to make a decision, because they've got to send a message that we're going to retool this thing, we're going to get better, and we're going to compete for more championships.
Totally agree. I mean, coaching is getting your players to execute what you want them to do at all levels. And there are too many times with Milwaukee, they don't do that. And I noticed it several years ago. Budenholzer is a phenomenal basketball coach, but his inability to always get his players to do what he wants them to do in the most pressurized situations, I think, cost him his job. Also, you know what, man? This dude has worked his tail off. He got $16 million on the books. Get your money, go, be with your family, grieve the loss of your brother. And if you still want to coach, there'll be another job for them.
Yes,
I don't have a problem with them moving on if that's what they want to do, because they took care of the guy. They treated him right. He got $16 million on the books. This is a lifer, and he deserves that. So I'm actually quietly happy for him, to be honest with you.
Who would you think Milwaukee would want to bring in? I mean,
Well, the obvious name is Nurse, but we'll see.
I mean, Nurse would be good. I don't know if Ty Lue becomes available, if he wants to get out of that whole thing with. I mean,
I like the Ty Lue piece, Dan. We know Nick Nurse is a ridiculously effective coach, but kind of like Budenholzer, they're good coaches. But you said it earlier, Red. At the NBA level, it's not just about coaching.
Right.
It's, can I reach these men, the young men who are in many cases young enough to be your grandchild? And then can I reach the older, mature players who are here, they've been paid, they're comfortable in that regard, so they're playing for legacies.
I mean, if I'm
That's
Ty Lue,
a very unique balance, and it takes a very unique guy to do that. And that's why you're seeing more and more guys that are going to be successful over time, or guys who played the game.
Yeah. How long can Ty Lue put up with the injuries of
He wants to
Kawhi and
be out.
Paul George. I mean, Kawhi's tore his meniscus, right? So yeah, another load management year next year coming.
One of the things that we didn't do at the end of the Sacramento series is we never really addressed Sacramento. And there's a lot of people that were in our chat and that we picked up in the Sacramento series that are still with us. And I've been getting a lot of notes from these people. Give me your guys' thoughts on where the Kings go from here. The Kings fell just short of taking down the Warriors. It went to Game 7. They still had a great year. They won 48 games. They ended a 17-year playoff drought. We all know they need to get better defensively. Do they bring Harrison Barnes back? How does Sacramento get better? They got some stability now with Monty McNair and as the GM, who's on a nice little roll, and you got Mike Brown. McNair was named the Executive of the Year on Wednesday. So, and maybe the fact of the matter is they got a nice little vibe going, and they took the champs to 7 and the beam and all the good vibes and good feeling. Maybe Sacramento could actually attract some free agents this summer for the first time ever. Give me your thoughts on where Sacramento goes. I mean, to me, it just seems like they need GP2 and Jason Hart and
I'll tell you one free agent,
some rugged defensive players.
One free agent I would go after if he opts out. I offer Draymond Green, give him his 4-year max, because he might not get 4 years out of him in Sacramento, but you'll get 2 great years that might win you a championship, because what they need is not only his defensive, his leadership, but his his way to run the defense, but his championship attitude that the Kings need. They need that. They don't have it. They need that one veteran. And to me, with Mike Brown already in place, if he opts out, that would be a perfect fit because they're ready to win.
That's a great name, and certainly Draymond would have to be considered. I would shake the bushes on Dillon Brooks. I would bring him in. I would underpay him, and I would say, "Yo, dude, all that crap they said about you in Memphis, I don't care. We're here to win. This is what we need you to do. We need you to buy in while being yourself, and bring Harrison Barnes back as an elder statesman and come off the bench at a lower price. But I would not dismiss Dillon Brooks. He's another defender. He's an okay offensive player. He's just entering his prime. He's 27 years old. He talks too much, but he's not afraid. And if I'm the head coach, if I'm Mike Brown, I would feel like a coach. So,
and just to buttress your point, Red, because I'm thinking in the same direction. There are 2 things you get with that. Number one, he goes from a team that was a number 2 seed to the number 3 seed. We know he may never be humbled, but he will be smarter this time around because he is going to want to get another big paycheck. The other thing that people forget, Dillon Brooks in 2 of the last 3 years averaged at least 17 plus points a game. Dillon Brooks is not devoid of the ability to score buckets. I think he averaged 14 and a half one of the other years. So he can become a more efficient player. I also believe that Mike Brown could reach him in a way that he couldn't be reached. He needs to be around someone who has done it, someone who has won it. I think he could be a huge, huge piece for De'Aaron Fox because he could take on that role like Klay Thompson did for Steph, which is where he takes on the hardest check every night versus Fox having to do that. And he's the type of guy who would come to a place like Sacramento. Can you imagine what Doug Christie could do with him? Getting him in the gym, getting him to work on his game. The other thing Sac has to do is they have to go out and find another veteran, not an upper level Larry free agent, but a mid-level free agent who's got the ability to score, but could also be a two-way player. The PJ Tucker piece is not there. The reason I wouldn't say PJ, Al, is because PJ is no longer trying to score. PJ does all the dirty work, but I think he'd have to play for a team that has a whole lot more in place than Sacramento does. And they've got to figure out what they're going to do in terms of an extension for Sabonis. That's
Yeah.
going to be their next big piece, because that's a decision they have to make. Because then all of a sudden you start looking at tax implications of all these salaries. And will Harrison Barnes come back on a sweetheart deal, or does Harrison Barnes believe he could go to another contending type team and get a fat paycheck? Because he may need to take a lesser role by coming off their bench as opposed to being a starter, because there's got to be something that he's going to be in charge of if he's going to be a leader in Sacramento.
What do you think of this one? Brian Iglesias, this is a great idea. He says there might be a lot of irony to this move for Sacramento, but I'd bring back Dante DiVincenzo. He could give them a veteran presence off the bench who can defend on the perimeter. DiVincenzo wanted to get out of there because their culture hadn't arrived. I think this year Mike Brown introduced a lot of change there, and I think Brown has established a culture. Now it's a place that maybe Dante would want to be. And if he, you don't think so?
Because of Mitchell. Mitchell is starting to arrive. Mitchell is starting to feel confident. And Dante's not a better defender than he is. He's a better initiator of offense, but he's not a better defender. And so they've got a guy who can. Can you imagine the defensive unit they could put on the floor when you could all of a sudden put Mitchell on the floor with somebody like Dylan Brooks? That they could really pressure wings and guards. So I'm not saying DiVincenzo isn't great. I'd love to find a way for the Warriors to keep him. I don't know if that could ever happen from a financial standpoint.
Financially, I think it's going to be very difficult because of the way the CBA is.
The other thing about Dante, and this is really, it sounds like a knock, but it's not a knock because Sac is just evolving. But Dante needs to play with really, really smart players to really accentuate the aspects of his game, the things that he does well. And Sac is an emerging team. They will ascend. I don't know if they ever get to the Warriors level in terms of basketball IQ collectively. Individually, they got some smart players. But I want to see Dante in an environment where he is surrounded around selfless and really smart players. The Warriors are the perfect organization for him. Maybe Milwaukee is, we don't know who the new coach is. Maybe they'll bring him back because he's a real special player that can contribute in a multitude of ways.
I could also see him in Miami.
Yeah. I could see, if Draymond leaves the Warriors, because it'll be his choice, right? He has the option to either opt out, and if the Warriors are not going to give him a 4-year max, what he wants, and the Kings, I could see him being with the Kings because of his way he spoke so highly of De'Aaron Fox after the series. He said, some players you lose respect for after playing against, and others you gain respect for. And he says, I have tremendous respect for De'Aaron Fox. He said he's a dog like himself who plays the game, with the will to win. So I could see the Kings going after Green because of the relationship there with Fox and Mike Brown. And, someone's going to pay. Draymond's going to get his bag.
If I'm Detroit, I'm all about Draymond Green. I got this young core. I'm trying to win now. They're all thinking about the future, but they got enough talent to win in the present. They just need someone to kick them in the ass and say, hey, guys, we can do this. And, I think Draymond could be that guy. I think that would be the perfect – if he's not going to end here, I think the perfect finish for him would be to end in a place where he gets to play in front of friends and family and people that know him, love him, respect him. I think Detroit makes a whole lot of sense. All right, on the way out here, guys, let's hit these playoffs. Celtics Sixers 1-1. Celtics won game one. Or I should say Sixers won game one in Boston. Boston came back and routed them in game two. Friday, tomorrow, we get game three in Philadelphia as the series shifts, and the Celtics are favored by 2. What do you think? Who's more in control of that series, Boston or Philly?
Boston.
I think Boston's going to win the series.
Yeah.
What about the other Eastern Conference series, which continues on Saturday? Knicks Heat. Heat. It's a 1-1 series going back to Miami. Heat took one in the Garden, and now it's in Miami. Miami's a 3-point favorite in Game 3. Randall's obviously not 100%. How do you guys see Knicks Heat?
Who's the best? Who's the trainer on Miami and the trainer on the Knicks? Because that's going to be the deciding factor. Whoever can tape an ankle the best, their team will win the series.
Yeah, obviously, man.
You're biased.
You're going to New York.
Yeah, I am. I mean, they have more talent. I mean, Miami has 7 non-drafted players on their team. But you know what? Once you get on the court, that doesn't matter. Miami, I think, is probably the tougher team because they've been there. But you know, I mean, the Knicks they're ascending, man. They're fun
Yeah,
to
they are.
watch. They're
They
fun
are.
to watch.
They're rugged.
They are, man. I'm gonna
I
go
love
with my Knicks, man.
I love what RJ Barrett has become.
Solid.
Yeah, seriously. You know,
I
Canadian
love the
kid.
Knicks rebounding, so I'm gonna go with the Knicks because Jimmy's compromised.
How about Nuggets Suns? Are the Suns getting back in it, or is this the Nuggets?
You said Nuggets, and who are they playing in the next round?
It's Phoenix. Phoenix is a 4-point favorite in Game 3 tomorrow.
You know what? The series is going to go 6 games.
Yeah,
I think it's going 6, but I mean Denver's better.
I said in the beginning of the series when it started, I says Phoenix's bench is weak. I don't know how many points they've scored in the whole series. The bench has been terrible. The only thing I can say is this: the Warriors better try and take care of business quickly with the Lakers, because you give Denver a week of rest and this series goes 7 and the Warriors win. I mean, they're going to be tired playing back-to-back 7-game series. You want to get this thing over and don't play around, because Denver's going to be done, I think, in a gentleman's sweep.
So you guys thinking Denver Boston finals?
I'll say this: Denver has the best option of getting to the finals if all of their pieces are healthy and they all are sacrificing. If Denver plays the Warriors and they're just a little bit uncomfortable, because it's one thing to talk about beating a champ and dethroning them, it's another thing to actually pull it off. The Warriors could get in their head, steal one of the first games, play great at the Chase Center, and Denver would be on their mental heels. I could see them having what happened to Phoenix last year when Phoenix played Dallas, where they just get in their own head and they can't figure out a way to win it.
Totally agree.
One thing I will say, I can't see Phoenix winning more than one of their games at home. And unless they're going to show up with great character in Denver to win a 5th game in Denver to extend the series, I'm kind of like Danny Boy. I've got Nuggets in a gentleman's sweep.
I'm surprised when I saw how much momentum Phoenix had with their crowd and how much talent they had, and then they got KD this year, and what that place has looked like in past playoff years. I'm shocked that this Phoenix team is not going to get a ring. But they're not. CP3 is not getting a ring. Not with Phoenix. It's not going to happen. I do agree with Danny that I think the Warriors have one shot to beat Denver, and it's to dispatch of the Lakers quickly and painlessly. And if they do that, they got a shot. If they don't do that, there is no shot. Young Nuggets are too young. Too many guys in their prime. Too many guys in their prime. It would just be too much to overcome if it's especially if Warriors Lakers is knocked down, drag out, battle royale, injuries, goes 7. No, it's not.
You can always have an ankle tweak, Larry. If Jokic had an ankle tweak,
that's
like
true.
Julius
That's
Randle or Jimmy, they would be so compromised they could get swept.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's a huge. That's a huge shift.
Just bring Sabonis in. Bring him on, sign him up, and grab his ankle.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right, guys.
I got to split. Oh, we're calling it?
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to call it right here. Guys, great stuff. Follow Frank Red on Twitter. Let me pull this off so everybody can see everybody's stuff here at the bottom. At Big Frank Red. Everybody join. We got 350 people hanging in the room still. Danny's got his own YouTube channel. It's called NorCal Sports Network. It's alive and well. So go over there, give him a like, give him a subscribe.
If you want to have some good ripping of the Giants, come on over. I'll shred them well.
There you go. Shred the Giants. Good night, Frank. Good stuff. And Carl, Danny, have a great night.
Yeah.
Take care. Carl, good to see you, man. And I'm glad that you've been joining us on these. man, it's a lot of fun to get everybody's perspective and chop it up and talk ball with you. So we'll be doing it throughout the playoffs, and we'll keep giving you an invite. And if you can make it, awesome. If you can't, no sweat. But we always love hearing your expertise and your humor and your insight. Always appreciated.
We'll see you on Saturday night, baby.
Sounds good. See you there. There you go. The great Carl Foster. Good stuff. Good stuff tonight. We have 25 starred chats. I'm going to get to them next. But first, a word from our sponsor. We are brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out in Corte Madera and in Emeryville. And it looks a little bit like this.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krug Show on this Thursday night. What's going on the show tomorrow? At 11 a.m., Eric Froton from NBC Sports will be here. He is our draft analyst, and he will stop by. We'll get his thoughts on the NFL draft and hear his breakdown of what the Niners did, what the Eagles did, what the best teams in the league got done, who won, who lost, and what he thought of it. And then Vish Kumaran's going to stop by tomorrow as well. We'll do a live stream with Vish on the channel, and we'll talk a little bit. We haven't talked to Vish since the draft or since really all week, so we will connect with Vish tomorrow. My son also has a 4 o'clock baseball game, so I'll be watching a little Northgate baseball on a Friday afternoon. So it is time for, David says, appreciate the content as usual, Larry. You are Bay Area legend. Thank you. Thank you very much. The car god says, my lady loves this sausage. There you go. I'm glad that we can be of service. All right, here we go. 25 starred chats. We'll find out if your chat made the starred chats, and there is no rhyme or reason as to why these chats are starred. They just kind of piqued my curiosity. All right, Mark Hope, who says that was one of the worst basketball games ever played. There you go. Wasn't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but we'll take it any way we can get it. Brandon Simmons says, blocking out AD like a wall was great coaching. Huge factor tonight for sure. Brandon Simmons says, Larry, what do you think is going on with Jordan Poole? His body language is so bad. I just think he's mentally, he likes to shoot threes. He doesn't like physical play. They're challenging him to drive to the middle. He doesn't want to drive. So he's kind of uncomfortable. He'd rather camp and shoot threes. He likes Steph's game, but that's not his game. His game is he can get by anybody at will, and he makes 94% of his foul shots. Somebody needs to remind him what he's good at and what he's not good at. He's an ordinary three-point shooter who gets hot and cold. He's a awesome free throw shooter and can literally put it on the deck and go by anybody at any time. So do it. It's amazing. It's an amazing. He's played with Steph. He thinks he's Steph. He's not Steph. Chris Hansen says, Cy's a pimp. I'm sure he meant that in the most positive of ways. Trox says, Cy will be in good spirits, but probably crying about something. There's a lot of anticipation tonight for Cy early on. Randall Riley, my wife's such a Ryan fan. Better watch that. Be careful. Be careful. You don't want Ryan taking your old lady. Data 84. I heard the over-under was 227.5. The final score was 127-100. Oh, my God. Both teams went scoreless in the last 50 seconds. Someone lost brutally. Oh, my God. That is a bad beat. That is a bad beat. Brian Iglesia. If Poole is having a bad shooting night, he should look to drive and dish to his teammates. He's so quick and skilled with his passing that there's no reason he can't average 8 to 10 assists daily. Well said. I totally agree. Rebel DeSounds says Kerr knows his team. Okay. That was part of our joke earlier. Brandon Simmons, Larry, don't you think Jordan Poole's attitude seems bad? Did you see when Draymond was trying to tell him my bad on the bounce pass and he slapped Draymond's hand away? Yeah, I'm not really a Jordan Poole guy. Z11, Larry, when is Gary Radnich going to be a guest? We got to get him. Gary's very private. I will reach out. Han Solo Dolo. He says Poole has to be traded in the offseason. Okay. A lot of Truth 05. Schroeder grabbing kneecaps. G2 the universe. I honestly respect all those guys' opinions. Great job, Larry, assembling these familiar faces into the panel. I like our panel. I absolutely do. We got a good group of guys. Sensible comments. It works for me. Terradome in the house. Hey, Terradome. He says, Krug and crew. What up, fellas? You got me tonight. Congrats. All right, Terradome. Hope you're enjoying your night. Maybe working tonight. Aussie Rule says, it's a Krug show love fest. Larry can't take it. I only like negativity. Carlos Guido, Cy is always in here looking loaded. Or actually being loaded. And that's just the look. Mark Hope says, baller gets all the fine P. Oh, no. Oh, no. Nick J. Cy and Kerr fired up some of the devil's lettuce and buried the hatchet. You think Steve burns? I doubt it. Z11 says, Larry, I love you, but I'm getting hate mail from Bill Orwig. Now JFC. Good stuff. Good stuff. We got this one from Jose Trujillo. Sam Darnold comeback season. He was at the game tonight with Kittle and McCaffrey. They're boys. Brian Iglesia, the Bay Area fans have some great basketball and sports analysts. Tom Tolbert, Ray Ratto, and Matt Steinmetz and Tim Kawakami are a few names that come to mind. Definitely Tommy T. Not that those other guys aren't good, but Tommy T's better than those guys. Before salad, bruh. just a very simple bruh. Driver 8, shredding the Giants is like bullying the special needs kids. It's just cruel. Oh, the imagery on that. Poor Giants. Let's go. Let's get it going. Mark Hope. Sausage. It's good. Been eating it for years. Thank you. Try the New York style Italian sausage. David Wersch said, I guess a commercial came up. A YouTube came up right in the middle of my ad. Is that what you're saying? And David says, Larry gets paid off YouTube ads. Win-win either way. They'll eventually come back from their ad, and then they'll continue on with the show, and then they'll get my ad. The Car Gods. My lady loves this sausage. Glad to hear it. David says, appreciate the content as usual, Larry. You're a Bay Area legend. I think I've already played that one, but anytime someone calls me a legend, I can put it up twice. Car Gods, Larry, are you going to the rookie meeting? Yes, I am. You talking about the Niners rookie minicamp? Yes, I'll be there. By the way, I interviewed Spencer Wagey today, the 49ers undrafted free agent defensive lineman who's raised on a farm in South Dakota, played at North Dakota State. Go check it out. I really enjoyed the conversation. Good stuff. If you missed it, we taped it and put it out this morning. G2 the Universe, says Niners, just letting everyone know I won't do with my eyes closed until we win another Super Bowl. Yes, I'm a diehard. I won't do? I'm not really sure. Before salad pool is trash. You Sigrod. I love this panel. It's very fresh. It's a good panel. I'll put this panel up against anybody. G2 the Universe. Oh my God, G-Rad and Larry reuniting. Just stop. Please don't get my hopes up. I don't know if G-Rad would want to come on YouTube, but I got to get the invite to him. Carlo P says, will Gary be a 50,000 celebration surprise guest? 20,000 hopefully. That's a good idea. We're closing in on 20,000 subs. Maybe when we get there, we say, G-Rad, we got 20,000 subs. Because he likes a big crowd. Before salad, this late night show is the best. Thank you, Before Salad. Ashley's in the house. Hey, Ashley. Larry, I'm worried we can't take much out of this game because the Lakers gave up. Have a push-up bet that Warriors will win Game 3, so I hope they do. Yeah, I agree. Lakers shut it down in the fourth. I mean, the box score was distorted. Driver 8. Can't believe no one said Jim Barnett. He's such an amazing color guy. No, people did. Oh, you can go back in there. I put a few of them up there. A lot of people like Jim Barnett as a analyst. JB, are you kidding me? Dusty Gold. What happened to Gary's buddy Bruno? Get Bruno on the show. Bruno's doing his thing. He's on the Eric Burns No Filter network doing his thing. Ashley said the bet is it's Eric Crocker. He's a Niner fan, but Laker guy. You got to get him back on. I'll get Croc back on. He was good. Really good. Enjoyed the conversation immensely. Before salad, great show. I appreciate your insight. Thank you. G2 the Universe. I remember Larry saying in G-Rad's retirement, he didn't create my character, but he certainly helped me give the opportunity to create my own brand. Yeah, I mean, Gary helped me immensely. Mark Hope. Let's not forget, I coined the phrase Larry Legend. Mark Hope with another one. Yes, Grad or G-Rad and Larry, best show ever. A lot of truth. 05. Robert Beal might be our second best edge rusher behind Bosa. That might be true. We got this last one here. Carlo P. Will Clark on No Filter lately has been great. Will Clark's always great. You got to be kidding me. Dusty Gold said, I saw the Waggy interview. Spencer Wagey interview. He said very sad about his girlfriend. Yeah, Spencer lost his girlfriend to cancer. And when I saw the story about it, I thought, wow, that is just terrible. But the kid just seemed like such a great spirit and great guy. And I watched this film, and I'm like, man, this guy can play. So then I'm like, we got to get him on. Then I followed him on Twitter. I noticed he followed me back. So I just dropped him a note and said, hey, man, I'd love to have you on the show. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to come on. Sounds like fun. So we had him on this morning, did about a 20, 25-minute interview with him, and I enjoyed it. And we'll see him next week at the rookie minicamp. Mark Hope says, Larry, congratulations on the best post-game show ever. There you go. Said it again. Back to back. GTC Reels. Big Crocky. G-Rad ain't coming on. Come on. It's not like I've asked him and he's turned me down. I just haven't been able to reach out to him to ask him. Because I don't know. I want to do it face-to-face. I want to do it over email or something. Yeah. No, but we'll get that done. We'll get that done. I mean, come on. Gary and I did too many years of radio together to not hook up at least one or two times on this thing. But he's also a very interesting guy who wants to put his family first, who doesn't, but he walks the walk. I mean, he said that when I'm done, I'm done. I'm not going to be hanging around with a hot dog dangling out of my back pocket. I've always respected the man, so I'll take him at his word, but I will reach out to him, I promise. Mark Hope, shout out to Kevin Krueger. He's done a great job promoting the channel, growing the channel. We're closing in on 18,000 subs, largely thanks to that kid. Dusty Gold, Larry keeping it real. A lot of truth, saying Larry's the GOAT. And Eric L., what do you think of the Niners signing another quarterback, Larry? They have to have a fourth guy because Brock Purdy's not going to be healthy for a while. We don't know exactly when. And this fourth guy has experience. He's very similar to Brock. And probably just good enough to be able to help you, just bad enough to be able to sneak through waivers. That's the thing. You're not really looking for the best quarterback. You're looking for like the best quarterback that will sneak through waivers. It's a pretty tough tap dance there to try to find a good quarterback that could help you, that you would feel good about, but not so good that he takes anybody's job, or not so good that you couldn't squeeze him through waivers at the end of camp. There you go. You type that all in, and you get that kid Allen, who's 30, I think, 30 years old. But he's done some good things. I liked him at Arkansas. Dusty Gold says, I'd like to know what Gary's driving now. My guess is a Jag. I think he went back to the Jag. All right, thanks to everybody. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks to all of our sponsors, Pig and a Pickle, New York-style Italian sausage, Telmetrics. Join me tomorrow morning for a little NFL draft talk with Eric Froton. Tomorrow afternoon with the great Vish Kumaran. And then this weekend, we'll have post-game on Warriors-Lakers game number 3 as the series shifts to Southern California. All right, until then, peace. Hope everybody has a great, phenomenal rest of your Thursday night. It is officially midnight, so welcome to Friday, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, the Warriors beat the Lakers by 27, and the series is locked up at 1 game apiece.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.